Unbelievable. State trooper for a while up in Kentucky, right?
That's right. 7 years.
7 years, state trooper. A Christian. He's received the gift of salvation. He loves the Lord. So a lot of things. An entrepreneur. You have a supplement company, right? T-Fuel.
Right.
T-Fuel. And you've been on a couple TV shows.
Yeah, I've been on the Rock show, the Titan Games.
Yeah.
And I was the mascot for the Tennessee Titans, too. So
I saw that, man. I mean, what a life, dude. That's
man,
a lot to keep up with, man.
Listen, I always point it back to God. He's given me all these crazy opportunities, and I just try to make the most of them, you know. And if I've got to audition for something, I'll do it. You know, I've auditioned for 200-300 different roles this year. Only got one, but you can't get it if you don't try it, you know.
About time you did something around here. All right, love you, Bubba. Thanks, man.
See you, brother.
All right, Bartley Weaver.
What's up,
The
man?
fourth.
That's it. Generational.
That's pretty cool, man. That must mean something to you because it's part of your name on Instagram. So
I got it on my chest.
Yep, you got it on your chest.
Yeah.
So that's pretty meaningful to you then.
Oh, for sure, without a doubt. Hopefully, Lord willing, I can make the fifth one day. Keep the tradition going.
Man, that's yeah, that's so cool, man. I mean, it's like heritage type stuff, you know.
It is.
I mean, I just think that's awesome, man. We'll get more into that here in just a minute. For the listeners, you guys tuning in, thanks for being back. You guys know this will be the second episode, interview episode that we're putting out for you guys. I hope you're enjoying them. We really want to make it something that you guys can sit down and put it on your TV and enjoy seeing us and listening to the conversations that we have. So thanks for all your support. And today we have Bartley Weaver, the fourth, on the podcast. And this is someone who literally immediately when I met him and understood a little bit about who he was, I was intrigued. Like I was really intrigued. Like you're doing things that really nobody else is doing. And you have a following on Instagram, which is the only other place I am. I'm not on TikTok or anything. Right. So I see you have a pretty good following on Instagram. But then I start, trying to find more stuff about you, and there's not that much out there in terms of like on the podcast, like where'd you come from? How did you wind up doing what you're doing? And there's a lot of content around your professional eating and your bodybuilding, and but I really just wanted not only to talk about those things, but to talk about who you are and how you wound up doing what you're doing, because you're the only one that the world knows of. So a little introduction on Bartley. He's done a lot of stuff. He's doing a lot of stuff. What he's doing now, professional bodybuilder. The dude is a beast. If you're not watching this on film, you can go look at it on YouTube. He's a daggone beast, man. Just ripped, a mountain of a man. Professional eater, 5th ranked in the world, which I have a whole new respect today for what that means. Me and Bartley got to do a little eating competition. And, of course, it was – y'all see the video one day. I have a whole new respect for what that means.
You're over digesting right now, aren't
you? Yeah, man. Unbelievable. State trooper for a while up in Kentucky, right?
That's right. 7 years.
7 years, state trooper. A Christian. He's received the gift of salvation. He loves the Lord. So a lot of things. An entrepreneur. You have a supplement company, right? T-Fuel.
Right.
T-Fuel. And you've been on a couple TV shows too, right?
Right.
Or one?
Right. Yeah, I've been on the Rock show, the Titan Games.
Yeah.
and I was the mascot for the Tennessee Titans too. So
I saw that, man. I saw some clips on
it was
Instagram from that, man. So, I mean, what a life, dude. That's a lot to keep up with, man.
Listen, I always point it back to God. He's given me all these crazy opportunities, and I just try to make the most of them, you know. And if I've got to audition for something, I'll do it. You know, I've auditioned for 200-300 different roles this year. Only got one, but you can't get it if you don't try it, you know.
Dang, dude.
And that goes, you know, I submitted my application for the Titan games the day of the deadline, and they called me like, "What's wrong with you? What'd you wait so long to do this for?" I was like, "Man, I was nervous." You know, but we got it in there, and they said, "All right, we'll call you back in 15 minutes, put on a collared shirt." I said, "Can I wear shorts?" He's like, "Yeah, your shorts aren't showing."
And I want to go into that a little bit too, because I haven't endeavored into the television space. I've had multiple opportunities to audition or to, you know, submit. You know, these producers have reached out to me, but I haven't endeavored into that. So I'm interested in what that kind of space and that experience is like. But just for the listeners, that's a broad overview of not necessarily who Bartley is, but what he is passionate about, what he does. We met at a speaking engagement with a company called Monarch Roofing. What's that been, like a month ago, maybe?
Yeah, about three or 4 weeks.
Yeah, it hadn't been long ago at all.
No.
So what were you doing there? You were putting on a show for them, right?
So I heard that they needed an opener, a surprise opener for the machine camp. You know, I'm like, what is this machine camp? And then I saw your name on there, and then I looked you up, and I was like, man, this is an incredible opportunity, you know. So, yeah, I was all in on that, and that's the first time I've ever done anything like that.
Really?
Yeah,
no
first
kidding,
time ever,
man.
bro.
Huh.
Like, I just made this up, you know, like a week before I ordered that boom box off of Amazon. I'm like, all right, now I got this, and now I'm going to come out. And now, even the day of the event, I was trying to decide what music I was going to come out to. And I was like, something that gets me pumped up, you know. So I played the Chicago Bulls intro, you know, when they used to introduce Jordan, you know, starting lineup. So I played that, and, you know, I told my video guy and told my fiance before the event started, I was like, I don't know really what to say, and I'm just going to have to wing it.
Yeah.
Because if I try to plan out too much, you know, I'll trip myself up.
Same here, man.
Well, I know that you did an incredible job, and it sounded like you've done that 1,000 different times. So I definitely going to try to steal some tips off of you next time, because you laid it out and you walked it back home, and it was perfect. Where mine was little, come out wild and crazy, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but we're about to eat these donuts. And
but I'm going to tell you what, though, man. So that particular event, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it is how we met, right? Like that particular event, I think the reason, to be honest with you, part of the reason why that event did go so well for me is because you brought the energy. Like you got them in the right mindset. You got that audience off their feet. You got them, you know, yelling and cheering and excited and having fun, right? And so you really set that energy up in the room for then me to be able to come in and then feed off of that.
Right.
Because speaking becomes really difficult when the audience is when they're just sitting there like a bunch of freaking lumps, and they're tired of sitting, they're tired of being there, they're not having fun. Then it becomes really, really difficult. So I think part of the reason that event was so powerful is just because of that combination. We should start doing that more often.
Hey, listen, I love it. I was like,
I mean, we really should.
I don't know if you heard what I said, but I was like, well, I've never came out and got people fired up to eat donuts, but that's what it's come down to. You know, hey, we're making it up, you know, and having a blast doing it.
Yeah. No, that was awesome, man. Thank you for the kind words that you said. That was definitely a special event for even me as a speaker. Right. It was much better than most of my experiences. again, because you were there, you set them up. It was the right type of people.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
kind of
Everybody was
primed.
fired up.
They were primed for that message.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man. I see. I thought, I was like, well, this is just something he probably does this all the time. Like, he's probably doing private events like this all the time, because it's an amazing idea.
Right.
Like, for you to offer that as a product,
Yeah.
to companies who are putting on these events for their teams and their employees. I mean, it's a really, really good idea for them to hire somebody like you to come in and just shake things up a little bit and give people a good time and expose them to something that they've probably never seen before.
Right.
So, I mean, have you thought about going that route, or at least making that part of your business?
I'll tell you what, I've always loved the motivational speaking stuff. I've never been a big speaker, but I know I've got the energy that not a lot of people are. A lot of people get embarrassed to like get that crazy and get that wild, but it's actually me just living in the moment and try to make the most out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all or nothing. Anything I do is all or nothing, and you're the same way, So
you got the energy, and then you pair that with such a unique and rare talent,
right?
With the eating,
right?
That's intriguing to people,
right?
I mean, it is to me, anyways.
Yeah.
So,
well, it kind of gets back to what we were talking about earlier. What are you passionate about? What are you good at?
Yep.
And just, doing your service to God to be the best you can be at what he made you decent at.
Exactly. That's how you, that's how you develop your mission in life, is you look at those things. What are you passionate about, or what keeps you up at night? What are you always thinking about, right? And then what unique gifts has God given you as this individual or this member of his kingdom, or his body here on earth, and you bring those two things into alignment, and that's how you find your mission or figure out what direction you need to be going.
Well, eating definitely keeps me up at night. I stay up all night eating, so
that's some wild stuff, man.
I eat for an hour to 2 hours every night before bed.
Wow.
It's crazy. I mean, it's like a slow snacking type of deal, but, I train hard all day. I'm moving all day. Don't sit down all day. And then, like last hour or so every night, that's my way to come down and just, kind of unrev the engine a little bit.
You're so interesting, man. I swear. I mean, yeah, we're going to get into that for sure. We're going to get big into that conversation because nobody knows anything about this sport, being a professional eater. Like, people don't know what I barely know just from talking to you today, but they don't know what goes.
I feel like I hit you with a bunch of little tips and tricks and different things.
Yeah.
And it's a whole different thought process. It's kind of like the bro science meets, there's not really books on it. So it's kind of like, what have you heard that has worked for others?
Pretty small community.
Right.
Yeah, so it's word of mouth for sure.
Yeah.
Man, I want to start out with just where you grew up, man. What was your childhood like? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so born and raised in Kentucky. I spent the first 5 years of my life, I lived in Harrodsburg. Dad was a coach there at Harrodsburg High School. We moved when I was 5 years old to Cave City, Kentucky, and I spent the large majority of my childhood there. I was into sports. I loved sports. I was outside all the time. Dad be out in the yard throwing football with me. I was a quarterback, so he was kind of grooming me to be the best I could be. I wanted to give them some financial relief of being able to, play college football, and be able to help out a little bit on the scholarship money. So I always wanted to be the best I could be. My dad got me in the gym when I was 12 years old, and that was like the turning point for me because, I haven't taken over a week off from the gym since I was 12. I'm 35, so we've been going 23 years, rolling on 24 years. I've had multiple surgeries. I'm in the gym the next day, 2 days later. It's just what I love. It was like he made me go when I was around 12. Come on. I was receptive to it.
Yeah.
I knew it would make me better, make me stronger. I can't necessarily control my speed as much as I can control my strength. you know, so I wanted to get stronger. I knew that that would help me. After about 6 months of him taking me to the basement gym at the school, you know, he had the key, you know. So we'd go down there a few times a week, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday type of deal. And then after about 6 months, it's like, come on, Daddy, let's go gym. Let's go gym.
Heck
you know?
yeah, man.
And he'd be on the couch. He's like, come on, man. We just went the other day. I'm like, come on.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What, like, so your dad, when he started getting you in the gym, was he taking you for you, or was he going to the gym anyways? Like, was he a fit dude?
No, he didn't work out.
Okay.
So he was there just pushing me.
He just enjoyed coaching and sports. And
yeah, he taught weightlifting in high school and stuff. So and then, you know, being a head football coach, you got to put your team in the weight room if you want them to, you know, be ready for battle, you know, on the front lines. So, you know, he knew it was important, and he saw me kind of take it and run with it. And my family mom and dad was awesome about feeding me anytime that I was hungry. That's one of the biggest blessings, is I never went hungry. I might have said I was hungry, but I wasn't really hungry. I was just wanting a little bit more, you know. And they were willing to feed me and spend that large grocery bill every week, you know, just because they saw a potential return, you know, because they love me. But, you know, if I'm hitting the gym hard, I'm eating the protein, then
they were building you up, as an athlete.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. But who were in those kind of early years of your life? Who would you say was your major mentor? Was it your father? Was it somebody else? Who really mentored you?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably my dad.
You guys were pretty close.
Yeah, we were tight. We watch all the sports all the time, you know.
Yeah.
Breaking plays down and watching game films. And
so you guys had that common passion.
Right,
man.
right.
Is he still alive?
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, praise the Lord. He just got 2 stents put in his heart the other day. He had a big blockage, and I finally talked him into going and getting it checked out, you know, because he's getting out of breath, you know, running with the grandkids and stuff. And so thank the Lord we called it in time, and he kind of feels like he's got a new lease on life, so he's been killing it, working out and eating clean and everything. So
good for him.
It's awesome there.
And you got brothers and sisters?
I got a brother.
How old?
He's 2 years younger than me, so 33.
Okay. About the same difference as me and Blake then.
Yeah.
Yeah, close to the same. Are you guys close?
Yeah, we're close. We're complete opposites in a lot of ways, you know, but blood's thicker than water. You know, it don't get no thicker than your blood brother. You know
you're
what
gonna
I mean?
have your brother's back. Yeah.
Right.
I get that.
No matter
totally.
what. I mean, I'd fight for him anytime.
Yeah.
He'd do the same for me, you know.
Isn't that a blessing, man, to have a brother?
It is.
It really is, man. That's awesome, man. So going on up through high school years and stuff, did you continue pursuing football, or did that kind of become your thing, your main focus?
Yeah, we had a real good basketball team in high school. I went to a Class A school, so tiny school, but we were good enough to make it to the Sweet 16 tournament, you know, for the state championship. I was actually in 8th grade. They let me play as an 8th grader, you know. I was on the team, you know.
And that was basketball.
Yeah, that was basketball. I was guarding the foreign exchange 7-foot center.
Good night, son.
I was guarding him in practice just because they knew I'd put an elbow in him, you know.
Yeah,
I was the strongest one on the team at 8th grade, you know, just because I'd been training since I was 12.
Yep.
You know, so I'd get dunked on a few times, you know. But
Dang, man.
I'd take a charge on one of them coming down the court, you know, and that was like the only way I could get favor with the coach to get more playing time was to, you know.
Throw that muscle around.
Yeah. But yeah, football was the priority. Yeah, got a couple high school state records, you know, just had a blast.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I got one that nobody will ever beat. A 99-yard touchdown pass. You can't beat it.
Holy
You can't throw 100,
dude.
You can't throw 100. So
how on earth did that happen?
Well, we were getting beat pretty bad, and I had a couple of fast wideouts, and I was like, "Hey, man, just go long." I'm tired of this. Just go long. And I threw it up to him, and he ran right under it and caught it and went all the way. So
good
that was cool. Cool memory there.
That's a long ways to throw a football, man.
Well, not in the air. I mean, I probably threw it about 50, 60 in the air, and then he caught it and ran with it. But it's from the line of scrimmage, so we were on the one all the way to the goal line. So
that's legit, man.
Yeah, but I actually played fullback in college. So I never played fullback my whole life. I played quarterback my whole life. But when I got to college and, they saw the highlight tape that I made, I made myself a highlight tape on VHS back in the day.
This is wild because my buddy that I just had on the last episode, he was telling me about that. How you back then, he's our age,
Yeah.
And he was also a ball player, and he was talking about how, dude, that's old school right there, man. Nobody would even know how to do that anymore.
No, I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either. I don't even know if you could find the equipment to do that with.
I know. It's like a double-decker reader or something. You had one playing, and then you had to push record or something on the other one, I think.
And so what college did you go to?
I went to Kentucky Wesleyan College. Okay. It's a private D2 school in western Kentucky.
Is that where you wanted to go?
Well, it is because I started as a freshman, and I was wanting to go somewhere to start where I could immediately start playing. Yep. I mean, I could have walked on to Alabama, maybe got a ring, been on the practice squad or special teams or something.
Yeah.
I kind of thought about that. I had a couple other offers. UK wanted me to be their punter. So I was a punter too, where you kick the ball.
Oh yeah, that's what my buddy. I think that's what my buddy Steve Weatherford did.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
was a punter. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I love Steve, and he was like the first jack punter.
Yep.
He kind of broke the stereotype on that, and I was trying to do it too, and all-state punter as well. But I wanted to go somewhere where I could play immediately and not have to, play on a practice squad for 3 years, and then if you make it long enough, then you might get to start your senior year.
Yeah, I totally get that, man. Yeah, and see, I had no idea how any of this worked. I didn't go to college. I actually I've never played a sport other than I played baseball in like middle school, like real young, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize that you can go to a team at one of these bigger schools and you may never even play a game.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the team, but you may never even play a game. So
right.
I can't. Yeah, you don't seem like the type of man who would have been too happy just kind of hanging out on the sidelines.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, you practice so you can play, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I don't want to practice so I can practice more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
talk to me about college, man. What was that experience like?
Well, being a football player was like a full-time job. We had 2 or 3 practices a day. So a lot of the times we do like a morning practice real early before the sun come up. We would have like a film session where we'd have to all be in the locker room, like by positions. I'd be with the offensive side of the football, and we would sit in there and watch film. And, if you screwed up the day before, then you're probably going to hear it then, because they film everything. But that's what it's all about, trying to get better and correct your mistakes. I was a criminal justice major and a psychology minor. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that as a criminal justice major, there was like a 20-year retirement at the time. So I'm just thinking, hey, I don't know what I want to do, but I know criminal justice is it's interesting to me. There's so many different avenues you could go. Of course, you see all the forensic stuff. And once I got into the police world, I'm like, I don't want to deal with that fingerprints and stuff,
Paperwork.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I tore my ACL my sophomore year, actually, in practice. And after that, that's when I kind of transitioned to the bodybuilding,
really?
Because I was, the working out didn't stop. If anything, I wanted to prove to myself and everybody else that I could come back from this thing.
Yeah.
And
so that happened during the practice.
Yeah, that happened during spring ball my sophomore year.
When that went down, did that kind of rattle you mentally? Because
Yeah, that was the most devastating injury there was. I mean, because I couldn't even like walk up the steps without it buckling on me and having to grab something,
man.
you know. And I'd had surgeries in the past that I kind of put off because I didn't want to miss games and stuff, and it kind of, I'm sure it didn't help it any, you know, putting it off that long. But I had a real rare ankle surgery where the tendons behind your ankle bone, there's tissue that hold them in place, and that was torn on a freak accident, little trick bike deal, you know, where my foot
just
got drug
around
under the pedal. Yep. And it tore that tissue. So then anytime I did anything athletic, the tendons would pop out over the bone, and I'd have to scoop them off my bone and push them back under my ankle bone. Yeah, it was like extremely rare ankle surgery, but luckily my orthopedic doctor, that's what he did his senior thesis on. And he hadn't done it in like 15, 20 years, but he said, I know how to fix it. So he fixed it, and I've never had a problem from it since. You know,
I'll be darned.
Yeah. Had to drill holes through the bone and had to put screws in there and tie it down, all kinds of crazy stuff. But that's when I kind of got into the bodybuilding. I was like, all right, look, I'm a little injury prone. I go hard. I get hurt sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, those team sports,
you know,
football, basketball, baseball, any of those team sports, but especially football, obviously, I mean, it's hard on your body, man, because it's so much explosive power.
Yeah.
And then the impacts that you're taking and changing direction. And I mean, that crap is rough on you, dude.
Yeah.
So in college, like, were you squared away in college? Were you know?
Yeah, I was squared away. I was a believer, you know. I wouldn't necessarily say I was on fire for God as much as I am now, you know. But I think that's just been strengthened over the years of faith, you know, and perseverance.
Yep.
You know, but squared away. Didn't like to drink much because I was a bodybuilder. That's when I started competing. My first show, I was 20 years old. I was like, hey, I think I'm done with this football stuff. I'm not going to the NFL. I don't want to hurt myself anymore.
Yep.
So when I was back full time, and I was like, you know what? I think I did my first competition like maybe 7 or 8 months after ACL surgery.
Wow.
You know, and it usually takes like somebody 6 to 8 months to come back from that. And I was already training legs, you know, a month deep, and, you know, working on the comeback.
You just
I couldn't stay out of it, bro.
Yeah. I hear you, man.
Not like you.
Yeah, I mean, I can believe that just from spending a day with you. I can see that in you. Yeah, you don't seem like someone who's going to sit idle for very long.
Yeah, even when I'm sitting still, I'm moving around.
Yeah.
You know, it's
so transitioning from, you know, training in football and being on the team and stuff like that, and then jumping into bodybuilding after that injury. Who did you have to help you navigate what that looks like? Because it seems like this bodybuilding, it's a complex thing. I mean, did you have someone then to mentor you and kind of show you the ropes, or were you just figuring this stuff out on your own?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've always been intrigued by the bodybuilding magazines, and I always want to read them and see what I could pull from them. And back when I didn't have much money, I would just try to memorize it. My mom would go to the grocery, and I'd go with her. I'd be in the magazine aisle. Hey, just let me know when you're ready to leave. I'd be sitting over there just, all right, this bodybuilder does this on this day, this on this day, this on this day. And I'd just be, you know, trying to freshen up my workouts, trying to improve based off what the big dogs are doing.
Yeah.
There was a trainer back at a gym where I first started training, and he encouraged me to do it, Brett Underwood. And he told me, he said, man, I think you can do it, you know. Now, he didn't give me much direction on what to do and how to do it. He wanted me to kind of figure it out myself. You know, he's like, hey, if you want to pose, I'll look, and tell you kind of what I think, you know. But as far as dieting goes or training goes, it was all pretty much experimentation from my point of view.
Yeah.
You know, and just trying stuff over the years, and you know, I'm still learning stuff.
Oh, I bet.
Every year.
I had no idea you've been doing it since you were 20 years old.
Yeah, that was my first contest, was 20. But, you know, like I said, I started training when I was 12, so I had 8 years of training before I competed.
Weightlifting.
Yeah. Yeah, so nowadays, the social media age, everybody, they want to look good for the gram. You know what I mean? They didn't really fall in love with the gym like I did. Competing's a byproduct of how much I love the gym.
Interesting.
At one point, it just felt like, hey, I need to be doing something with this. It's like I need to be doing it for something, you know. And if
it's not going to be football, there needs to be some other goal that you can set.
We're competitors.
Yeah,
we want to do a little something, you know.
Yeah,
because how else can you justify going as hard and crazy in training if that's all you really do with it?
I agree. Yeah.
So I wanted to test the waters out, and of course I got my butt whooped when I first started, and I took 3 or 4 years off to put on more muscle because I was a 20-year-old competing with 35-year-olds, you know. So I came back when they created the classic physique division, because I'm like, hey, look, this was made for me, because I would always be, you know, I'm 6'1", on stage with these 35-year-old dudes that are 5'10", 5'8", so it just made me look like a swimmer, kind of.
Yeah.
Especially if now it'd be a different story, but back then when I was 50 pounds lighter, I'd look stretched out up there. So I was like, you know what? I don't know. I'm just going to take time off, and I'm going to put on the muscle that I need to put on, and then when I think I can be competitive, then I'll get back on stage. Well, they came out with the classic physique division, which allows you to be a certain weight fight. So essentially what it does is it evens the playing field on the ratios.
Yep. I get that. So,
now I can be 242. It can be my stage weight.
At 6'1".
6'1", I can be 242. When you turn pro, you get 10 more pounds. So before that, it was 232.
Okay.
So competed in that division for like the first 4 or 5 years, and I finally cracked the code. I didn't know that I would ever turn pro, but I knew that I was going to train like I could, just because I loved it, and I was a full-time bodybuilder essentially. When I was a state trooper, I mean, it was ideal. I don't know if you've ever heard of Ronnie Coleman, but greatest bodybuilder of all time. He was a cop. Guess what? He ate every 2 hours in his patrol car, just like me.
That's awesome, dude.
Hey, even better, I used to go home and sit on the couch and watch some TV, and, hey, if I get a call, on the way.
Yeah. Well, you kind of alluded to my next question is what did you love so much about it? Like or I'm sure it's still the same.
Right.
Maybe it's changed over time, but like when you first got into it, what did you love so much about it? Like, what was driving you to put this much effort into it and stay on that path?
Right.
What was it?
I think it's just the toughness, the discipline that you have to have. I've always, prided myself on being disciplined, and I like the process. It sucks. I might complain. I don't complain as much anymore because, hey, listen, nobody's making me do this.
Yeah.
It's voluntary. This is a choice that I've chosen to do, and I love it. And just seeing your body change and seeing that, hey, I can put X amount of work in and I can get X amount of results in X amount of weeks. So I'd start 16, 18 weeks out, usually shorter than that because I like to put it off to last minute. But, I try to diet last minute, and I'd rather almost diet hardcore, crash diet in 10 weeks versus stringing it out 20. I like to eat too much for that.
I believe that.
We saw it earlier.
Yeah. What are, for you, what have been some of the biggest challenges competing in that sport? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges that things that you have struggled with? Is it the dieting portion? Is it, I know you love the gym, but I mean, you're spending, I have to imagine, hours a day in the gym. Like,
Right.
Like, for you, what are some major challenges?
I think probably for me, especially since I haven't competed in a couple years, is the dieting. Like I try to stay pretty lean all year, so I'm within striking distance, you know.
Yeah.
I wish I would have ran a little bit more before I come and worked out with you, but you know, it's been crazy just to watch the process and battle through the most of it for me is just like food cravings. It makes a month seem like 3 months if you're hungry.
Well, talk to me about that. What does that look like when you do have to hunker down? You know, that 10 weeks or so before competition. What does that diet look like?
Yeah. Well, for me, so I didn't always have trouble making the weight cap, but towards, you know, the last few years before I turned pro, like it was getting like dangerous of how hard that I would have to cut water just to make weight, you know, because, you know, you go get heighted in and then, all right, now hop on the scale. Let's see how much you weigh. And I remember weighing 5 pounds over one time, and they were like, you got an hour to lose it. Good luck.
Night, man.
Be safe.
5 pounds in an hour?
Yeah, yeah. And I went and dropped 6 in 50 minutes.
How?
Hot shower, as hot as it could go, laying down, fetal position. Hey, just, you know, I'd like to hit my chest with the water because that kind of heats you up right there. But just hot water, as hot as I can get it in the shower, seal the door. That way you're kind of making your own makeshift sauna.
Yeah.
And I could only last about 10 minutes at a time. About 10 minutes at a time, I'd come out. I'd wipe my whole body off with a towel because I didn't want to hop on the scale with all the water on me because I'm like, hey, I lost more than that. Get it off of me. You know. And I did that 5 times in a row and lost 6 pounds.
Yeah, that's
and then went back, you know.
That's not.
No.
That couldn't be healthy. I mean,
especially
but when you're competing at that level, it's you have to. You're not really trying to do what's healthy. You're trying to meet the standards so that you can be the best in the world at what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like I work too hard, come as far, and not compete.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
as far as the actual eating, the stuff you're eating, is it like calorie restriction or is it?
Yeah. For me, that's where I was going with it. You know, more recently in my career, it's a little more extreme, as in lower carb, lower fat, just because I've got to make the weight. So I was almost stripping muscle off my past, 4 or 5 shows. So that's why I haven't competed in a couple of years, because I'm kind of in between open bodybuilding class, which is, my training partner, Derek Lunsford, Mr. Olympia. He's #1 in the world. So I'm training with him, looking at him. I ain't got a shot. I'm realistic, So I'm somewhere in between the divisions, and I would definitely like to compete again. It'll probably have to be the open class just to, I kind of want to say that I did. I competed with the biggest and the baddest and the best in the world.
Yeah.
Because, I've done 5 pro shows. I got 5th at one of the pro shows, which got me a point for the Olympia. That's the biggest competition of the year, is Olympia. So you used to have to get a certain amount of points or win a pro show. Now they changed it to you just got to win a pro show. So for me to go to the Olympia, which is something I would like to do because, I've been to, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but I've been to Nathan's. That's the Super Bowl of eating.
Yeah.
The Olympia is Super Bowl of bodybuilding.
Man, I bet that's intense. I bet it would be intense to be. Have you been to one not competing?
Yeah, I go every year. Yeah, I go every year just to watch it. And, definitely more invested now when my training partner's, going for the repeat.
Yeah, yeah. What is, if you could sum up the goal of bodybuilding, just for the listeners to have a little more context of what we're talking about, like what's the end goal? What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah. All right, you want to be the biggest that you can be with the best balance, symmetry.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want one leg being bigger than the other, you know. But truth is, everybody's got body parts like that. So you're like a sculptor and constantly trying to recreate this art image that you've been working on for so long. All right, my delts are looking a little, my triceps are popping out more than my delts, so we need to add some more clay to the delts this year, you know. Or maybe it's the quad sweep. Maybe I've got big teardrops, you know, the inside part of your leg, but I need to get that outer sweep so I can create that sweeping illusion. You know, you want to look like an X, you know. So it's all about muscle, it's all about symmetry, and it's all about conditioning. Conditioning is, you know, that's the hardest one. You know, there'll be a lot of people show up, huge, look good, but when you got somebody standing next to you, it's got striated glutes, and that kind of separates them in a different class, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll show you a picture later of my training partner. You could as shredded could get, man.
Well,
it's crazy.
mean, I was just cruising through your Instagram the other day, looking at some of the photos of you when you were competing, and it's just unbelievable, dude. I mean, you're even getting down to the science of, like you were talking about earlier. What were you saying? You do something to even make your skin thinner so that the muscle tone shows through better.
No, exactly. You know,
that's intense, man.
Yeah, that's when you can really see the different fibers. You know, it's all about the details. When you're trying to judge two apples, you know, there's got to be some differentiating factors there.
But they're minor, minor details. But at that level, that's what makes the difference.
And you put a good tan on it and put it under the lights. That way, everything's, you know, you can see the crevices better. You know, but that's the hardest to get. I mean, you know, my sweet spot for cardio when I'm getting ready for a show is about an hour and a half a day. You know, probably 2 45-minute sessions. I do an hour a day now. It's not that high intensity, just walking, but it definitely allows me to eat some more calories, you know, and I've always been a big fan of, hey, do more so you can eat more, because I think that physique looks better than somebody that does less and eats less. It's just like a softer look to me.
Okay.
You know?
And by do more so you can eat more, you mean like burning more calories so that you can eat more calories.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
But because if you got to create that deficit, is, you know, and that's what you got to do when you're dieting for a show. Not many people get bigger. You know, most of the people have worked on the muscle and spent X amount of years to get the muscle that they have, but now you got to whittle it down. What's under that? You know, and it's just a gradual process of, you know, getting in that deficit, you know, especially if you've got a goal weight to shoot for. You kind of know if you're a little behind or a little ahead of schedule, you know, but essentially you just want to maintain as much muscle as possible and get absolutely inside out shredded. Dang, you know, which, you know, I can attest that the last few weeks before a show, man, you're pretty much a zombie just because you're in such a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
And you're just, you know, your face is all sunk in, you know.
When you break it down like that and you talk about what it's actually like to go through that process, it just makes me think, I mean, the guys who are doing this, I mean, you really have got to absolutely love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's misery, dude.
Well, the best part about it is you look absolutely fantastic, but you don't feel like it. You know? So you got the pictures to prove it, you know. But yeah, it's definitely, you know, that's kind of how I've transitioned into this new whatever I'm doing. You know, it's, hey, I can make more money eating and entertaining, and I still get to train. I'm still training with the best in the world. And that's why he likes working out with me, is just because, you know, I like to be good at whatever I do. So it's not like I'm showing up and I'm giving half effort.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't love it.
Dude, and I saw that out of you today. Like, obviously, today we did the SEAL physical standards test, and dude, you gave full effort. Like
decent.
It was no, you did, man. I mean, you came out there at 270 pounds, bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And you crushed that thing, dude. Like I was blown away.
What was the most impressive to you out of the ones that we did? The run?
The run, how you were able to run at that weight. And like you said, you mainly just walk for your cardio, which is good, especially being a bodybuilder. You don't want to do a bunch of running, right?
Right.
Walking is
it's looked down upon.
Yeah, well, people don't understand it's probably the most healthy thing that you can do. Like if you're exercising just purely for health,
right,
and not to be an ultra runner or run a marathon or something, don't run. Just walk.
Right.
Like, it's the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, I call it swole stroll.
Yeah, I saw that on your IG.
Yeah, I used to do a little motivational talk as I'm walking, and
but yeah, you have a well trained mind. I saw that in you today, and I didn't know what to expect, obviously, because I don't know any. This is the first time we spent time together, but yeah, for you to be able to come out there and do that entire run after doing a 500-meter swim, max push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and then get out there in that Georgia heat. Man, you could have stopped and walked.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do that whole run. And I know it was hurting you because you don't run. But you kept running, and you laid down a dang good time, 12 minutes and 50 seconds. That's a dang good time for a mile and a half run.
I can't remember what I used to get when I was a trooper. I'll have to dig into that and see. Me, I'm kind of a little curious. Have I fallen off or have I gotten better?
Well, you represented that your community, bodybuilding community, well today.
I appreciate it.
Because just to be totally honest with you, man, I've always looked at that sport from the outside. I've always looked at it kind of as just vanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, these people are just, they have to be vain. Like they're worshiping their body, but the way you're describing it, you're not describing it like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it like you're doing it strategically for the sake of competition.
Mm-hmm.
You're not.
Right.
You haven't mentioned at all vanity or worshiping your body. You're like, no, man, we're trying to take this body that God's given us and that He's created, and we're trying to sculpt it into the most symmetrical thing that it can possibly be in order to stand up and compete with one another. And
do the most with what you have.
Yeah, and then the amount of work and discipline that has to go into that to make that happen is, and of course, I haven't. You just have scratched the surface of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about the thousands of reps and all of that stuff that you have to put in. But
it's something else. Do you do any recovery modalities, like a cold plunge, red light therapy?
So I love the sauna.
Yeah,
I do
that's
some
great.
cold.
Sauna's great.
Yeah, I do some cold plunge. But I've never been huge on recovery. I should, as I'm getting older now, I'm going to have to focus more on that.
Hey, I guaranteed cold plunge would feel so good on your ultra.
Oh yeah,
on your ultra damage.
For sure, man. I have cold water PTSD from buds, man.
Oh, I hear you, bro.
That was the hardest part of buds for me was the cold water.
Yeah.
Us being Southern boys,
I hear you.
But it is good stuff. I agree with you 100%.
Well, I think I asked you that because I think that's one of the things that kind of propelled me to become a pro and get my pro card was, I got second, third, 3 times in a row. I barely missed it. I never thought I was going to be pro, but I just loved it and I was going to do it. And that's just what I enjoyed doing. And I was going to work like it was possible, and put the rest in God's hands. I remember when I won my pro card, it was, when they were about to discuss or about to announce who won, I just remember praying, Lord, let your will be done. Hey, it's in your hands. You know, if you want it for me, I'm excited. If not, I'm excited because I know that's you know, your plan's better than mine, you know. And luckily, you know, it worked out in my favor. But I think the recovery modalities gave me an extra inch because, you know, I think I've got pretty good genetics. I know that there are people with a lot better genetics than me, elite level genetics. And sometimes those elite guys, you know, cut a few corners, I think, when they can get away with it.
Yeah.
Well, when the pandemic happened, I got a storage unit and I got a set of block dumbbells, adjustable dumbbells, and a bench off of Facebook Marketplace. You've heard me say Facebook Marketplace 3 times a day.
Yeah.
I always find my workout equipment there because it's cheap and you can go pick it up now.
I know it's an awesome app. That's the only thing I use Facebook for is the Marketplace.
Yeah. So I went and got those, and I said, you know what? And nobody else is training right now. The gyms are closed. I said, this is my time. I've got to capitalize off of this. This is my time to go in there and steal this pro card when everybody else is slacking. Man. So that's basically what I did is I went to my storage unit every day. I take my little speaker in there, and I turn on some music and pull the door up and, you know, just have fun, you know, and trained every day. And I'd be training even harder than I was before. Just because I felt like this was my chance, you know.
You know, man, that's so – what you're talking about right there is so applicable, though, in so many areas of life, right?
Yeah.
Especially in business. That's
right.
What you're talking about. I mean, I wish people could understand this because people are so influenced by what the economy's doing, like what's going on in the world. Oh, it's, you know, things are down, things are bad, the economy's bad, and so all the losers, what do when things are down? They all start pulling back, right? Just trying to hang on to what they've got.
Right.
That's all they can think about. How am I going to survive this difficult time? And that's probably what a lot of bodybuilders were thinking about during that.
He's like, nobody else is training either.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Oh, man, you know, how am I going to just stay at least in halfway decent shape? My gym's closed. Yeah. And instead of looking outside the box and saying, okay, everybody else is pulling back because of whatever's going on, and so this is my time, man, to step in and become innovative and figure out new ways to move forward while everybody else is pulling back.
Right.
That just hit so hard with me, dude,
bro.
Because that's our story in terms of entrepreneurship here at 307 Project.
Right.
Like we created our first course that we ever ran, like smack in the middle of the COVID shutdown.
Yeah.
And we were like, nobody's getting together. No businesses are open. Okay, what can we do to bring people together? Oh, well, let's create this backpacking course called the Basic Course and bring people together and start running this. And dude, we've trained hundreds and hundreds of people since then. But that course was born out of that mindset that you're talking about.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, how can I become innovative when things are down and everybody else is just kind of pulling back?
I also created my supplement company during the pandemic too. I launched it May 2020.
Good for you, man.
You know, and I was all in on it, and you know, I was on the Rocks TV show, and I knew that I would get a little bit of traction from being on there. So I just wanted to offer a product to help people, you know. And once you take it and try it out, then you'll realize that, hey, man, this is probably great for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, especially having digestion issues and people that have terrible gut health and aren't getting the micronutrients that they need, aren't getting enough fiber in their diet to go to the bathroom, you know. So I was just, you know, the shutdown was a curse for many, but it was actually a blessing for me.
You can overcome. Like, you can find a way to get after it. You're going to have to think outside the box, and you're going to always have to take risk. And everybody around you is going to tell you you're crazy. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But, like, man, I mean, I just wish more people would think that way, because you know what? If more people thought that way, all these theatrics and politics and all this drama and politics and all this stuff, it would mean so much less. Like it would have so much less power over our experience, just as human beings out here doing what we love to do.
That's why I hadn't watched the news. The first time I watched the news in like 5 or 6 years was the assassination attempt. And that's just because I just now got a TV that I can live stream. I hadn't had cable for 5 years. I didn't have time to listen to that junk.
Yeah, we don't either. The only news that I get is from scrolling Instagram, seeing what people post, man.
Yeah.
But you know, man, we skipped over kind of that pretty big section of your life too, where you were a state patrol officer. I mean, we talked about it just briefly earlier while we were out doing our thing today. That's a hard job to do, man. A very selfless job to do, very dangerous job to do.
Right.
Did you enjoy doing that job?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I got burned out a little bit towards the end. That's when I, made my peaceful exit. I felt like God was calling me to do bigger and better things, for his kingdom. I was kind of the bearer of bad news all the time, and that's not really me, Of course, I mean, you can't save somebody every day if you want to, And a lot of the times it's, it's going to the bad situations. And God bless the Blue and all first responders in the world. I mean, we couldn't sit down to do this without them.
Can you believe we live in a country where if you go out here and somebody hits you on the road and you get all busted up, and, that somebody's coming to get you?
Right.
Like, just think about that, man. Right. Like, there's a lot of places out there where if something bad happens, nobody freaking cares, man. Right. Nobody's coming to help you. I mean, that's a big deal, man, that we really seriously take that for granted.
Right. Yeah. I can attest to that because I'd get some negative attitudes when I'm coming out here to work your wreck and help you.
Yeah.
But, I'm grateful for the situations that I was in. I'm grateful that I was never injured or I tore a hamstring chasing somebody one time, but besides that, I never had a use of force in 10 years of law enforcement. I was a deputy jailer for 6 months straight out of college. After that, I did 3 years probation and parole. So I actually had a gun and a badge pretty early out of college. I was living for free in the ghetto, just because they wanted a little badge presence there, So I was living in a shack with, some people on my caseload as my neighbors. It was pretty wild, and it was definitely a unique experience to be somebody's dad, when they're literally the age of your dad.
Oh, I bet, man. Yeah.
You've got to call this person. You got to tell them come in here, and they got to do this and do that, and you better do this by next week, type of deal.
Yeah.
So I was glad to get out of that. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I was always intrigued by. My dad had one of his coaches, Nick Stevens, was a state trooper, and I was always fascinated by that. I mean, in Kentucky, we had to shine our brass. You got to shine your brass before every shift.
They look sharp. Even here in Georgia, like know when you see a state trooper,
right?
I mean, they look squared away, dude.
Right. And I like the aspect of having a mobile office because I can't sit in an office, man. I tried that.
Yeah.
Probation pro, we had a caseload. You was buried in paperwork. You never got done what you needed to get done every day, So it was kind of just like, spinning your wheels kind of. So when I could, take my office on the road and had a little bit more freedom, I really liked that, being able to go to work from my house, essentially.
And it sounds like that kind of squared away look and mentality that you see out of the state troopers it sounds like that starts at the academy, because
Yeah.
you were telling me earlier that was a legit challenge.
Yeah, 6 weeks or 23 weeks. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. You know, anytime you're sleep deprived and starving, you know, that makes anything tough, let alone getting smoked in the middle of the night and having to go, you know.
So they run it like a
10
legit
miles.
boot camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very militaristic when I went through. I think they might have changed a couple things, you know, with how the government's shifting around now. But
yeah.
But when I went through it, it was tough, and you know, it was something different every day, and it was one of those mind games. You know, that kind of sharpened your mind too. Is, you know, when I left for the academy, I burnt the bridge I came on. I ain't going back on it. You know, and it's kind of one of those things. If you quit the State Police Academy, you're looked, you get no respect, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so I knew that, you know, they ain't gonna make me quit. They can run me into the dirt. They'll get tired of running me into the dirt because they don't want to stay up all night.
Yep.
You know, so yeah, we did that. I finished second in my class. By finishing second in my class, I got to pick where I wanted to go. So I went back home to my home county. You know, well, not necessarily my home county. I went to Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is, you know, home of the Corvette.
Oh yeah, we've been to Bowling Green. Yeah. We got a race there in September.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Where at?
It's at a minor league baseball stadium, right?
Hot Rods.
Hot Rod. It's called the Hot Rod Ultra.
Oh,
yeah,
sweet.
we run around that baseball stadium for 24 hours.
Oh,
and
my
you just
goodness.
see how many.
Gosh.
Maybe you can come out if you're in town.
When is it? September what?
September. I'll have to look at exactly what the date is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went out there last year too. So
That'd be wild. I know exactly what you're talking about.
it's a good time. Yeah, might be a good first ultra marathon for you.
Oh, how many miles?
It's as many miles as you can get in 24 hours. Yeah, so you just run at your pace. If you want to sleep for 8 hours, you can sleep for 8 hours. You know, it's just however many you can get. Yeah,
that's intense.
but it's monotonous. It's a mental challenge.
Right.
Obviously, there's no terrain. It's totally flat, and you're on a nice surface, but it's just the monotony is what kills people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they get tired of it.
So when you go through something like that, do you kind of like to buddy up with somebody? That way you got a little conversation going, or you kind of...
It depends on whether I'm racing or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm just out there just having a good time, enjoying the run, then yeah, I'd love to buddy up with people.
Right.
But if I'm actually racing, I don't even know if this part of me exists anymore or not, but there used to be this part of me that I'm hoping the Lord has killed it.
Yeah.
But I can go to a real dark place, man, where I don't care about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to freaking destroy you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I guess it serves its purpose in some situations,
Right.
but I lived in that place perpetually for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There was no turning it on and off. That was just who I was. You know? So if I'm racing,
well, you had to condition your mind to get to where you got, though.
and SEAL training does that to you for sure. Yeah, that kind of is what develops that. But so you got out. You were working the road for how many years were you?
Worked the roads years.
7 years.
I didn't really want to promote to sergeant, just because it wasn't that much more pay and more paperwork. And I was like, come on, man, I got enough already doing these case reviews and stuff. So, yeah, after 7 years, this is a pretty good part if you want to go into a little small testimony.
Send it, man.
So I was praying and praying and praying about what to do, what I wanted to do, where I needed to be, because I didn't feel like that was it. Had some great friends, great coworkers, great experiences, all good, but I just felt like there was something else, you know, and especially I've got my side businesses brewing in the background, personal training people before work every day. So I knew that, you know, I could probably train a couple more people, make more money than I'm paying, risking my life on the road for 8 hours, you know. So once I started thinking about that perspective, it really made me think and pray and just try to seek his guidance on what to do. One night I woke up 3 or 4 in the morning, and something hit me. I was like, I don't know what it is. And I was like, man, I need to pray. I was like, all right, I might as well go pee while I pray. And I just remember going to the bathroom and I was just praying, Lord, I don't know what you want to do with me. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. I'm kind of in turmoil trying to figure out what's going on and what I need to do. You know, just guide me and direct me. The next morning, I woke up and I had a DM from a company, from a health and wellness company, like a telehealth type of deal. And they said that they wanted to bring me on their company and give me a 33% share of the stock in the company, you know, make me the vice president of operations or whatever they said. And I was like, man, are you kidding me? He answered the prayer that fast, you know? Yeah. And, you know, it came to a point where state police didn't want me to be on that side of the industry, you know, with all the testosterone treatments and all that. They probably want to stay away from it. I understand. And so I had to make a decision. I was like, hey, this telehealth company, they're not paying me yet. They're promising me a lot. They're not paying me yet. Am I going to give up this salary and health benefits and everything?
Yeah, retirement.
Retirement.
7 years is a big investment.
Well, I got 10
man.
Total.
Yeah, 10. Yeah, that's a big investment.
So they moved it to 25 right when I graduated college. So if it was 20, I'd think about it a little bit more. But knowing I just put 10 in and I got to put more than that in, I was like, I don't know. I don't think this is it, you know. So I took a leap of faith, and he kind of pushed me towards the direction of, you know, leaving the state police. And I took that job. And then that's when the pandemic hit, and all the traffic that we were generating, it kind of went by the wayside.
Yeah.
It just, everything kind of shut down. People aren't worried about, you know, trying to get their hormones fixed in the middle of a pandemic and don't know what's going on, you know. So that actually bottomed out, and I kind of broke down and, you know, almost in tears, you know, just like, I thought this was it, you know, this, you know, they're talking about I was going to make so much money, and, you know, had these investors lined up, and I was tore up, you know, and just praying. But I had the faith. And my girlfriend, she told me, she's like, hey, listen, you got faith. I know you do. Everything's going to be okay. I was like, you know what? You're right. And, but that's when I realized that God don't take you from point A to point C. Sometimes you got to go to B first. All the times you got to go to B first if you're going to go to C. So that was what needed to happen to get me out, you know.
Yep.
And since then, he's pushed me and guided me in ways that I couldn't even explain. From moving down to Tampa, he told me to move to Tampa, multiple signs, you know, talking to people in the sauna the week that I was moving. Where you from? He told me he's from Tampa. You know, I remember taking out my trash the last day, the very last trash trip from my apartment before I moved to Tampa. And take note that I wasn't coming down here to like a house or a place that I already had set up. I was going to move in with my mentor, you know.
Your bodybuilding mentor?
No, spiritual mentor.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he actually went to a couple of my competitions. I met him through a mutual friend, Bart Stamper, on Facebook, and he just saw how much I trained, loved training, and loved eating. He loves eating too, you know. So we kind of clicked off the bat there, and he came through for me at a competition where I really needed him. You know, I was having trouble making weight. He'd come pick me up and take me to go get my tan done and just run me back and forth. Anything I needed. He was just selfless servant, you know. And so I had that relationship with him, and he was really encouraging me to come down, and, you know, he thought it would be good for me, and gave me a place to stay at his huge house. He was at his vacation home in Belize. So I had the house to myself, you know, for 4 or 5 months to try to get my feet up under me, try to get some clients, you know. But circling back, the last trash trip, I was praying on my way to the house to go get the trash before I walked it back to the dumpster. Lord, I think I'm going to Tampa. You know, if I don't need to, please let me know right now. You know, please tell me something, show me a sign, you know, to confirm kind of where I'm at, because I'm really, you know, battling all this in my head. It's a big decision to kind of move away from your family, you know.
Big time. Yeah, where you were born and raised.
Hey, leave my salary job, leave my family, and leave the Mexican restaurant that fed me every night for free.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a big one.
Dang right,
you
man.
know it? And so I take the trash out. I was like, hey, hon. There was a woman out there. I was like, hey, hon, how you doing? Is it going to rain? And she's like, I don't know. It's kind of looking like it. She's like, I'm headed to Tampa. I said, no. I said, no. I said, me too, honey. God bless you. And she's like, God bless you too. And I was like, oh, man.
What are the chances of that? You were up in Kentucky?
Yeah, I was in Kentucky
what are the chances
at my
of that?
apartment, and she was visiting somebody in my apartment complex and headed down to Tampa with me.
Huh.
And I was like, man, I knew I was heading the right direction once I took off south.
What was the initial? So obviously, like you said, 2020, you left the state patrol, and the thing with the telehealth company kind of bottomed out.
Right.
So what was the initial like driver of like Tampa? Was it that connection with your mentor? Like why was it, if it was, why was he pushing you to come down there?
He's very spiritual, and he has some visions too. I get some visions every now and then. And he kind of prophesied to me that, you know, this was after a month or two of being in his house and spending some time with him. And he said that, you know, he was prophesying that God was going to do something very powerful through me in Tampa, you know, in the scene that I was in. And that's already kind of played out. So that was, you know, we got a men's group in my backyard that, you know, I got a vision to start. And so that's been going well, and multiple people have been saved this year. Max, the video guy, got saved and baptized, you know. So it's been an incredible experience. But so I had that pulling on me, you know, him speaking truth, speaking life into me. But also, you know, everybody wants to be in shape in Florida. If you're that close to the beach, people will pay you a little bit more. So I looked at it as, hey, listen, I know it's risky, but if I can go charge double or triple from what I was charging in Kentucky, you know, I only have to train 1 or 2 people a day to make what I was making as a state trooper. You know, I was only making like $120 a day as a state trooper.
Good night, man.
You know, and I've been in some hairy situations.
I can't believe it.
Yeah,
that's all.
I mean, I've been in standoffs, and I've seen some crazy stuff. You know, and just to think that, hey, I can actually go to the gym and help somebody out for 1 to 2 hours a day and make more than that was definitely a motivating factor. That, along with my supplements, you know, I've got like a tropical vibe. I got a pre-workout that's tropical flavor, you know. So I'm like, man, I got to get down here so I can cut some better content, you know, because I was in Kentucky and it was gray and cloudy 4 or 5 months a year. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, especially when I was, you know, doing my swole strolls in Kentucky, you know, man, it just feels so much better when you can walk outside with your shirt off and sun hit you. It just makes your bones feel good.
100%, man. It's Florida is a great state, dude.
So for somebody that likes to do outdoor cardio every day of the year, hey, Florida's a pretty good option. So I moved down there. I got me a house about 2 years ago, and it's been an entertaining, wild ride, but it's been worth every bit of worry, frustration. You know, it's really developed me as a person and developed my character to, you know, to be able to persevere, to be able to have faith, you know, to be able to keep pressing on no matter what's coming at you. you know, because, hey, there's been times I haven't had any clients, you know. But what I've noticed is God always sets me up for what I need when I need it. And that's like the best, because now I've kind of gotten into the rhythm that, hey, if I have business kind of slack off a little bit on either the supplements or the training or something, I know he's got something better for me, and he always does. It's like, as long as I got enough money to pay the bills and do what I enjoy doing every day, and I'm living a dream. You know, of course, everybody wants a little bit extra, you know, but I just, one of the guys at the men's group, you know, he told me one day, he was like, man, you know what? He was like, man, you got it. You got it all. I was like, you know what? You're right, man.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, sometimes we get ahead of ourselves, and we want this, we want that, we want the next one, we want this worldly stuff. But at the end of the day, man, you know, I've got a roof over my head. You know, I'm eating great every meal. Hey, shout out Mega Fit Meals. They send me 20 meals a week, baby, and I tear them up. I can't wait. I need to order tonight.
Heck yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like we get caught up in the hustle and bustle, and I need to enjoy this moment right now, because I'm having the most fun ever right now. You know, and I'm incredibly blessed. You know, I could be, you know, working a fatality on the highway right now. I'm not doing it. You know, so it's so
hard to keep maintain that perspective, man.
I know. I have to remind myself of that often.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, calm down. You know, I've got everything that I need when I need it.
You really showed that today. Like when we were out doing the physical standards test, and, you know, you mentioned, like, essentially we get to be out here doing this. Like, this is what we do for a living.
Yeah.
And I'll just be honest with you, dude, I lose that perspective so much.
Yeah.
Like, so often I lose that perspective. Even on days that are super fun, like today. Mm-hmm. Like tomorrow, I have to leave to go out of town, and I have to go speak and all this stuff, and it's like I can get so caught up in, like, oh man, like, you know, this, because what we do is still work. It's still work to create the content we create and put the time into the things that we're doing. It's still work, and I can so often just think, oh man, this is so much, like, you know, this is a lot, and not stop and realize, but look at what you're doing, man.
Yeah.
Like, you helped me today just in reframing the day, because I have a big week.
Right.
And you helped me in that today. And as much as I love digging ditches, I was digging a ditch the other day.
I saw you.
Digging a ditch is different when you have to dig the ditch.
That's true.
And so you helped me today, and I even mentioned it to Blake. I was like, yeah, man, it's gonna be a long week this week. Mm-hmm. But hey, we ain't digging ditches.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
we don't have to be digging ditches. Look at what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a long week, but look at what we're doing. We're helping people. We're creating cool stuff for people to watch. We get to speak to people. It's tough to maintain
and to
that
be your own boss. I mean, that's huge. That was one of the most freeing things when I turned to Badgie, and it's like, hey, it's all on me now.
Yeah,
you know?
and so that part is, you're right. It's a real blessing, but it's also a heavy weight.
Oh yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah. When you come to the realization that, like, man,
if you don't work, you don't eat.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just show up at work tomorrow and somebody's going to have this list of tasks lined out for you to do. And if you get it done, you get it done. But if something happens and you don't get it done, well, no sweat off of your back. You're still going to get paid.
Right.
And then you're going to go home in the evening and forget about it.
Right.
So it's a heavy weight, but at the same time, the reward that comes from it is worth the weight that you have to carry.
Right.
In my personal opinion.
Right.
And I know it's not for everybody.
Yeah, I'm the only entrepreneur in my family. So, I mean, it was definitely, it was just as scary for them as it was for me, probably.
Yeah,
you know, just what's he doing? What's happening?
It's crazy too, man, how recent all this has been for you. Because for me, 2020, I mean, that just feels like freaking a few months ago, dude. I don't know. Time's been going by really fast, but that's all. So you started essentially about the same time we started. Yeah, and it seems like it's just been no time, man.
Yeah.
And here we are.
It's been flying.
And a lot of change in that small amount of time.
Right. The world has changed a lot since then.
Yeah, a lot of the world's changed, we've changed, and just having to constantly shift and innovate, and that's awesome, dude. All right, we're gonna take a little break here, and then we're gonna jump in to the pro eating conversation.
Yeah, hot dog bathroom break.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that, son.
That's good.
We'll be back in a second, guys.
What's up, guys? I want to tell you about a really awesome intra-workout formula that Phorm puts out, and this stuff right here does not get enough attention. There's all kinds of stuff out there on the market for ultra runners, endurance athletes, or just people who are doing long, hard workouts, anything an hour plus. You need something to fuel yourself during the workout while you're working out. That's what the Intra-Formance is, right? This is called Ultra-Formance by Phorm. And I want to tell you right now, I've used this stuff extensively in all sorts of endurance environments, and whether it's ultra running, ultra long distance bike packing races, or in just workouts like the Combat Standards Test or the Murph. What this is going to do is it's going to give you something to run on during the workout. So we've got 100 calories per scoop. We've got 24 grams of carbs. We've got magnesium, sodium, potassium, everything that you need in here to keep you going for those workouts that are 35, 45, or an hour plus long. And I just don't think this stuff gets enough attention. Out of all there's hundreds of different products out there that I see in the endurance world, and I don't see this, and I don't know why, because this has been the hands down the best fuel source in terms of providing me some calories and some carbs that I've ever used. It sits really well in my stomach. The taste is perfect. It's not too sweet, but it's enough flavor to really make you crave it, all right? Not to mention it's produced in the USA by Phorm, which is our partner here at 307 Project. If you guys don't know Phorm, you need to check them out. They've got everything that you need, whether it's your whey protein for recovery, your vitamins, your pre-workout, your during your workout, everything that you need. And everything that Phorm makes is top shelf. These are supplements that you are ingesting. You're putting them in your body. So, you know, you can go to your freaking local supplement store and buy the cheapest stuff that you can find, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, if I'm putting something in my body, I don't mind paying a little extra for it, knowing that I'm getting the top quality stuff. And not only that, but everybody at Phorm are just amazing human beings with an amazing mission. They love this country, and the values that they stand for are in alignment with us here at 307 Project. So if you guys get after it like I do, this stuff is going to help you go further and recover faster. I promise you. Check them out at this will be firstform.com. We'll attach a link to this Ultra-Formance in the description of this episode. Go get you some. Promise you, you won't be disappointed. Enough said.
All right, guys, we're back. Surprised this is the only bathroom break we've had to take so far.
Yeah, no doubt.
I just watched Bartley just a few hours ago eat 10 hot dogs and hot dog buns in like a minute and 45 seconds.
Yeah.
10. And
I was hungry after all that running we did, though.
Yeah, man, I was hungry too. But I ate 5.5 in 10 minutes and felt like I was about to puke. Yeah, I'm still, when that comes out the other end, it's going to be interesting.
You think it'll look like a hot dog or what?
Probably not, dude. Probably not, man. That was like something new for me for sure.
Well, Well, I'm doing a taco challenge tomorrow, and I got a biscuit challenge, 8-pound biscuit challenge at Loretta's.
Biscuits and gravy.
Wednesday morning. Yeah, biscuits and gravy, good old country boy meal.
All right, so I gotta start. We gotta start at the beginning of this eating stuff.
Right.
When did this become a thing that you realized you were going to pursue, being a pro eater?
I can distinctly remember that I was at the gym, believe it or not, and like I said earlier, I didn't have cable, so I'd go to the gym to watch TV, essentially, between sets. And July 4th is the big Nathan's hot dog eating contest. That's the Super Bowl of eating. And I was just always intrigued. Joey Chestnut, he's the greatest athlete of all time. He's won 16 titles, So when I'm thinking, I think that's the only sport I can get in there with the best athlete in the sport and actually compete. I can't play basketball with LeBron.
Yeah.
I can't play football with Tom Brady. I was a mascot on the field one time, gave him a 5. But,
yeah.
I wasn't playing in between the lines, So when I saw that on TV, I'd love to eat. No question about it. At that point, I'd already been doing some amateur circuits. People would tag me on Facebook, Twitter, hey, you need to go do this challenge. There's a taco eating contest in Nashville this weekend, and then I'd look at it and be like, all right, I'd weigh out the logistics. Okay, how much money can I win? How long does it take me to get there? Am I going to have to get a hotel? Nashville was a close trip for me, so what I would do is I would go train at a new gym. That's like my favorite thing ever. Go to a new gym and then try some new food. So if anybody listening wants to give me a TV show, I want to be able to have a show where I can explore the world, trying out different gyms and different cuisines. That's always been fun to me.
That would make a good show, man.
You know what I mean?
Be like Anthony Bourdain on steroids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
On TRT.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I would win money, eating a free cheat meal. That's how I looked at it. I'd go train hard. I'd usually do like back or legs. It's usually a little bit more physically demanding for me. And, once I do that, I go hungry, fasted, and then I would kill the competition and win money. So I'm like, hey, listen, it's not a bad side gig, a little extra spending money,
And you get to go scratch that itch of going to a new gym and seeing a new place.
It's on the weekend. It's something different. I get good content. That's when kind of Instagram was coming out, when I started doing all this. And I'm like, hey, listen, I'm getting good content, on this journey too. That everybody loves food. My food posts would always get more views and likes than my bodybuilding stuff.
Yeah.
The bodybuilding stuff definitely motivated some people when I would get in a serious prep because I'd really get motivational. I'd tap into a different place when you're suffering and you want to tell people about it and you want to kind of inspire them through it. People like that, but everybody loves to eat.
Yeah, you have a much larger audience. Yeah, like every human on earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, after watching it that day, 4th of July in the gym.
What year?
6 years ago.
Okay.
What's that, 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been a pro going on 6 years. So, how to become pro? That was my next question. If I want to do that, I want to be on TV, how do I do it? Well, I had a friend, luckily, that had just moved to Nashville, and he was, kind of mentoring me how to get into it. How do I do it? I want to do it. I can eat. Let me show you. Well, my very first time competing against pros, see what they usually do is they'll fill the table with pros, and then they'll take like 1 or 2 amateurs, and let them on the table. Maybe they're good. Maybe they can be a addition to our league. I did the World Mutton Eating Championship in Owensboro, Kentucky. So that was my stomping ground. That's where I played college football. So, I wrote in the comments on my little application, hey, please let me get this spot. You know, this is my old stomping grounds. I love to eat, you know, and they selected me. So how to become pro, you got to do good enough in a pro contest, and they'll basically offer you a contract. So I think I finished in fifth or sixth. I beat like 3 pros and tied one really good pro. So I got the 3-year contract right after that. So that kind of got me in the mix now. Now to be, you know, on stage, Nathan's hot dog contest, you got to win a qualifier. Well, the year I did it, they were still struggling from the pandemic stuff, and they weren't having as many qualifiers. Well, I was doing good on the circuit. So I knew that, you know, if they're not going to have these qualifiers, then I need to bust my butt on the circuit to try to do as many as I can and place as good as I can and show them that I'm trying and I'm improving, and it might give me some credibility for them to give me the special invite. Yeah. So I actually got a special invite my first Nathan's, and people were kind of talking smack. He gets this, he ain't never done it, type of deal, you know. But I came out and got 7th in my first Nathan's and not even knowing what to do, essentially, you know.
How many people are at that competition? Or how many people are selected?
16 men, 16 women, but they run them women first and then the men.
Okay.
So, you know, I had to put the time in to do these other competitions to have enough credibility to be worthy of the invite. And then basically once I got the invite and showed them that, hey, I'm decent, you know, essentially I climbed the ranking system from like 38 to 32, and then I went to 17, and they only do the rankings once a year after Nathan's. So I was climbing a little bit every year, and I was like, you know what, man, it would be cool to be top 10 in the world. You know, that was like my ultimate goal, was to compete with Joey Chestnut and be able to say I was top 10 in the world at some point, you know.
Yeah.
And, man, I'm blessed for all the opportunities and the health, you know, to be able to push my body to make it that far, you know. When I write a book one day, it's going to talk about beating the GOAT, Joey. So I beat him, I tied him, and I got beat by him many times. That's my eating claim to fame. Yeah, I beat him in the World Pistachio Eating Championship.
No kidding.
It was on the Santa Monica Pier on National Pistachio Day. So it was incredible. I mean, who wouldn't want to eat pistachios looking, you know, at the water there off of Santa Monica Pier? You know,
was that the weight or number?
Yeah, well, that's why I entered the contest, because I don't have the capacity Joey has, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, but I was like, you know what? You got to crack these shells. So it's a little bit more technical than most, you know. And I'm like, you know, me and Joey fat fingered a bunch. I think I barely beat him, but it was enough to beat him, you know.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Well, people listening to this, they hear you talk about being a pro eater, and they're probably like me, and the little bit of exposure they've had to these competitions, they think, well, these guys can just eat a lot. Like, they were just born that way. Like, they can just eat a lot. I've learned from you that's not true.
Yeah.
That this competitive arena like requires legitimate, specific training techniques in order to be able to do what you're doing. And so talk about that training a little bit, man.
Yeah. Well, what I like to say is, when you know what it takes to be great, then if you want to be great, you got to do what it takes. You know? So my first year doing Nathan's, I got 29 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. That's
Which
good.
is insane.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I got 5.5. Yeah. It's insane, dude.
Yeah, so, you know, but the more I got into it and wanting to be better, you start practicing with people a little bit better than you, kind of talking with people a little bit better than you, And once you get kind of to the top, man, it's a small circle where you can kind of shoot things back and forth and kind of confirm or deny kind of your experience. Is this safe to try this? You know, chugging water, for instance, it's, you know, very dangerous way to train, you know, but, you know, being a pro eater and pro bodybuilder, I'm usually looking for the lowest calorie option, you know, when it comes to the training for the eating, because I work my butt off. You know, I don't eat junk every day. You know, I eat clean almost every meal of the day. At night, I'll save me a couple little raccoon snacks, you know.
Yeah.
Within my calorie budget, I'm 270 pounds, and I do an hour cardio a day and hour and a half, 2 hours of weight training a day. So I'm training a lot. I feel like I've earned that as long as I can eat clean during the day and have some snacks at the end of the day. But yeah, I don't keep any junk food in the house. I don't have any type of trigger foods like that in the house. That way I can stay on my game and never get too far away. It's like, you know, I've been blessed with good health. I've had abs ever since I was 12 when I started, you know, and it's just something I didn't want to get rid of, you know, just because I've always heard, you know, you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. It's essentially paid off. Like, I didn't think I was ready to hang with you today, and you still smoked me, but I think I did decent considering the fact that I haven't been training
you did really good.
I haven't been training for swimming or running or nothing, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, I wish you'd told me that a week before, and I'd been training my butt off, you know. I'd been down at the YMCA or in the ocean or something, doing some swimming, you know. But
so, and as far as the training goes for the eating, like you talked about chugging water. Well, the listeners don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And when you told me,
yeah.
I was like, holy crap, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, tell them what you do.
Well, I know people that it's not mandatory, you know. I know people that don't do it at all, but they'll smash buffets. And they'll, you know, all you can eat and see how full they can get and stretch that stomach out and get to where it's uncomfortable and a little painful, you know. But me trying to work it into my lifestyle and trying to do, like, I got a picture I'll show you. It was a 4-month difference from a bodybuilding show to Nathan's. And you can see how much I stretched my stomach out in that period of time. It was insane. And it was next week after I got done off the bodybuilding stage, I started my eating training, because I was determined, you know, to do well in this bodybuilding competition and go to the Super Bowl of eating in the same year. I'm crazy like that. You know, I need something to train for.
That's
you know?
wild, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both those disciplines in 1 year.
Yeah. But, yeah, the training, like, you could probably see it on some of my social media. I've got a video somewhere on my phone. I might have to release it one of these days, but I don't want to encourage anybody to try it. But probably the craziest thing I ever did was chug 3 gallons of water in 7 minutes.
Good night, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't even seem humanly possible.
Hey, listen, my belly button was out there, brother. I thought it was about to pop off.
And that's just that is literally to stretch your stomach.
Yeah.
So that you have a higher volume that you can fit in your stomach.
Yeah. Of course, I spewed that at the last minute just because, you know, for one, it was involuntary, but I literally felt the water coming up over my eyeballs, felt like I was drowning from the inside out. And I felt it going up like that. But you think of how crazy that is just to try to be better at something, you know. But it was the most craziest training I've ever been through in my life. Like, it doesn't even compare, you know, to training for a bodybuilding show. That sucks. It's a long time. It's drawn out. You're hungry. You think about it all the time. Time's just barely creeping by. But I tell you what, when you're gonna stretch your stomach out, that's a whole different level of pain. I've always told people I'd rather do an hour on the Stairmaster full blast than chug a gallon, 2 gallons, 3 gallons of water.
Yeah.
You know, it's internal pain. It'll make you cry every time you do it.
It's freaking, dude, just the hot dog thing today, I told you, I was like, I would literally rather run 100 miles than have to sit here and eat these 10 hot dogs, man. And, like, I'm being legit because it became, after, like, 3 hot dogs and hot dog buns, it became miserable.
Yeah.
And like, have you, I mean, you have to be concerned when you're going to these extremes. Like, how is my body going to react to this?
Listen, I would pray every day, every time I trained before I did, and it got to the point where I didn't really want to do it, but I felt that that's what I needed to do for my platform to, relay his message. It was just like, please, Lord, just help. If this is what you want me to do, then just protect me through this and let me get through this. And I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to pick up my cross and follow, but I need some help, and I would tap into that every day, and I'd play some music full blast, and I'd start clapping, and I would hit bone on bone with my hands like that, just to get in the mindset of, hey, this is about to be brutal, but you can do it. Just waking myself up and just,
It's wild, dude.
I'd start my timer, have my timer hanging up on the wall. I'm trying to beat the time, and it's progressive overload. That's what I tell the people that say it's not a sport. Of course, you don't have to do that. There's other ways to do it. This is just, what I've done. Don't try this at home, kids.
Yeah.
Because there's a proper electrolyte balance that you have to do. Everybody's different. Not everybody can chug the same amount of water and be safe. It's definitely a dangerous situation, but it's something that I kind of worked up and kind of
saw how your body responded.
Teetered the edge, make adjustments here and there. Some days would be fast runs as fast as I can, like power chugs, just squeezing the jug and shooting it back as fast as I could. That was one of the ways, and then I would have like back off days, just like you're periodizing your training.
Yeah.
Some days you go for a longer, slower, some days shorter, faster. It's kind of listening to your body. And,
same concept as any other form of training.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what it was, but just of the stomach,
That's intense, man.
But on top of that is, I'm training with Mr. Olympia for 2 hours before I do that. So he'd be like, you're crazy, bro. I was like, I know, bro. That's what you got to do, I guess.
I agree. I mean, yeah, when you talked to me about just the other day, we had that phone conversation, and you were like, yeah, I can chug a gallon of water, a few hours before competition just to stretch my stomach out. I was like, is that even humanly possible?
Yeah.
Like, to do that and not wind up in the hospital? And like you said, for some people, maybe not. Maybe that would put you in the hospital, so don't try it, because this is just like any other training where, you're working up to that, right?
Yeah. Well, see, yesterday, I need to show you the video, but I chugged a gallon driving on the interstate with my knee with a big glass gallon, and I chugged it on the way down, and, I had to pull over 4 or 5 times to pee, but, I knew that would kind of stretch me out a little bit for whatever we did today or whatever I'm doing the rest of the week on this food tour.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
so over time, the stomach will start to shrink back up?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And that's the challenge that I would have to do when I'm going back into the bodybuilding after the stomach stretching, because then you're talking about strengthening the transverse abdominis muscle, the TVA. It's like your corset muscle that holds everything in. So when I'm trying to stretch my stomach out so I can eat more, I got to blow that sucker out.
Yeah.
And doing all the stomach capacity training will actually blow it out, but it'll actually kind of like protrude when you're not meaning to. You lose control of it a little bit.
Yeah.
So switching back over to the bodybuilding mode, it's doing my vacuums though, and sucking everything in, trying to pull my belly button to my spine.
Mm-hmm.
And that would like train my waist to come back in. I think that was people's biggest, one of the things that they were most amazed by is that how I could eat all that, but then have a somewhat tight waist on stage.
Yeah.
But it's just like anything else, man. You got to put the time in, and it would take me 2-3 months of waist trainer, 6 hours a day. And then probably, and one thing when I was a state trooper, I'm in my car for 8 hours a day. So I was just pushing that steering wheel, sucking my stomach.
Yeah. Yeah.
People beside me are probably freaked out. I'm gripping the steering wheel at a stoplight,
just
pulling my stomach in, but they don't even know. Everybody else is sitting back eating a burger and French fries.
I wouldn't know. I'd be like, what the crap is that dude doing, man?
That dude looks crazy.
Yeah. So this year at the Super Bowl of eating, the Nathan's competition, you placed 5th, right?
Not this year, last year.
Okay, last year, 23.
So what's crazy is I was kind of praying for a way out, and I haven't retired yet, but I only made $1,000 when I got 5th place at Nathan's last year over 6 months of death training. I was like, bro, that's not worth it. I already been on ESPN.
Yeah. I
already got my intro on ESPN. I got the pictures to prove it. I got the jerseys to prove it with my personal best on the back. It's not something I got to do forever. I realize that if you want to be the best, and that's when it switched for me. If I want to be the best eater in the world, I got to do it 100% all the time. I don't want to do that. I don't want to put myself in a box of only being able to do one thing because, when you gotta, how training goes. When you get crazy over training, man, you got to put a lot of things on the back burner, and a lot of things can suffer.
How about you got to put everything on the back burner if you want to be the best in the world?
Exactly.
I mean, we've had the conversation many times on the podcast about how to be the absolute best in the world, it takes a singular focus, right, and we even tie that into faith when we read in Scripture, and Paul is talking by inspiration of the Holy Spirit. He's writing actually about running the race to win the race. And what does he mean by that? Well, all of us who are competitive, we understand what he means by that is, I want you to run this race for Christ with a singular focus on Christ.
Right.
And that's how you run the race.
Right.
But only competitors can understand that.
Right.
Because that is what it takes to be at the absolute pinnacle. And I'm a lot like you, Bartley, in the fact that, man, I love doing different things.
Right.
So for me, I watch the guys and girls who are the best in the world at ultra running. And that's all they do. Like, they don't ride the mountain bike.
Right.
They don't go to the gym and lift weights. They don't do anything except for run. And they're a twig. Like, they're just twigs. They have zero muscle.
Right.
But these jokers can run.
Right.
And I have also made the same decision in my life. I mean, I've won some races and I've done well, and yeah, I can run some folks in the ground. But to be at the pinnacle, I realize I'm just not willing to make that sacrifice. Like, I want to go out and ride my bike this year, 570 miles on the Colorado Trail. Like, if I want to be the best ultra runner, I can't experience that.
Right.
And I'm just not willing to do that either, man.
Right.
So I'm 100% with you on that. And I know it's interesting that you brought that up. It just shows that you are a true competitor because you realize that's the fact.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, for that, if you're not first, you last.
Yeah. When you're trying to be the best in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the first is the one that's getting all the endorsements. They're getting all the big brand deals and everything and all the exposure. Second place ain't.
No.
And, I think I had enough wisdom to understand that, hey, I can still use my talents for other reasons. It's like I did the Monarch thing. So that was a week before Nathan's. And
was it really?
Yeah, and I had so much fun on that food tour, man. We went to 4 different places, even did a charity event on the way home. I'm still hurting from that. I don't know if you saw them hot wings, brother. It was the hottest thing I ever ate, man. But it was for charity. We raised $2,000, and I guess that's good enough. But I'm telling you what, it was the hottest thing I ever had in my life. Yeah, there was a 5-minute afterburn period. I kind of set it up the night before. I'm like, hey, I want to do something for good here in Myrtle Beach. It ain't all about me, and maybe we can do something to benefit. It was to benefit veterans with PTSD and mental illnesses. I just hit up a chicken wing place and asked if, they worked with any charities, if we could throw something together last minute. And they're wanting me to eat these hot wings, you know, just to do it. And I'm like, hey, there's got to be a good reason behind this.
They don't understand. Just like me or anybody listening, they don't understand what this. Right. They think, oh, this joker just likes to eat. We're going to put a bunch of food in front of him and he's going to enjoy. No, man. Yeah. This is going to freaking hurt.
Hey, let alone, you know, the chance for ulcers or scarring your throat with how hot that stuff was, bro. That was they wouldn't even tell me what the sauce was. This secret recipe. Couldn't tell. I mean, it felt like it had battery acid on it.
Good
to me.
night. Is that on YouTube?
Yeah.
All right, I want to go watch that today.
And what's funny is that was my second time using the boom box. So I got a good vibe from the Monarch roofing crew with the boom box. So I took it to the chicken wing spot, and there was a bunch of Little League baseball players in there. I was like, oh, they'll get fired up if I come in here screaming on this thing.
So I just saw a clip from that. I haven't watched the full video. I have to watch that.
Well, you'll see me in some pain. You'll be like, shoo-wee.
So last year then at Nathan's,
right,
when you're up on that stage and you know what, obviously it's got to be nerve-wracking. You know what you're about to have to do. It's going to be intense.
Well, you know, it's a lot of training boiled down to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure for you to perform, you know. Probably my biggest push was I didn't want to let people down cheering for me. I ran some Real American T-shirts, and it was like me holding a big platter of hot dogs, you know. Just something funny, you know, Road to Coney, buns for Bart on it, and I didn't want to let the people down that supported me and supported me all these years. You know, think about all the people that's hooked me up with food over the years, and I want to do it for them and make them proud. You know, the year before I did it, and I was 7th, and I was like, I wasn't even on the top ticker. You know, where I stayed in top 5 last year, my name was up there, and people were pulling for me, and it was an amazing feeling. You know, and not only that, but when you're up there on stage, well, you got the risk to choke, to puke.
And when you're going that hard.
I mean, think of doing that on ESPN national television. I mean, it'd probably be good nowadays. You get a bunch of views for it, but, you know, but being competitive, you know, you don't want to pull that card.
So where's your head at before that timer starts? Like, are you calm? Are you trying to get fired up?
Man, people always say be calm and don't blow all your steam before you get up there, but it's just in my DNA just to get fired up from the beginning. So, you know, I think last year I did a little Ray Lewis intro as a Hall of Fame football player. It was just like the most hype thing that I could think of doing, you know. And so I came out and did that, and kind of I got to do something with the adrenaline, man. I got to do something with it. I got to let out a Ric Flair woo or something.
Yeah.
You know, I got to let some of that out or it'll bubble up inside. I don't know what it'll do, but, you know, I got fired up, came out, hit some poses, you know, up there. And then it's immediately get dialed in. All right, I got my hot water containers under the table that I got from a coffee pot 4 hours ago. You know, it's all planned out. I've got a fanny pack here full of like 8 different squirt bottles, a different flavoring.
Yeah.
That way I don't hit the flavor fatigue. That way I can rotate flavors, and, you know, sometimes a grape tastes good, sometimes an orange tastes good. Pineapple coconut's my favorite for hot dog buns. Might have to try it next time. But, you know, but it's game time, you know, and then the adrenaline when they do Joey Chestnut's intro, and you're like, hey, man, I was watching this on TV 6 years ago and said I wanted to do that right there.
And you're there.
And it's like, man, this is unreal.
Yeah.
You know, so to be able to see it come to fruition, you know, kind of, you know, it just confirms you get out what you put in, and anything's possible. I mean, nobody ever thought I'd be up there, you know. I love to eat. My parents might tell you that I could do it. You know, they used to cook 2 dinners, one for them and one for me. You know, for my mom, my dad, my brother would have a dinner. You know, 8 pork chops. I'd get 8 pork chops. You know, they'd get a a pan of croissant rolls, I get a pan of croissant rolls. It was great. And my brother's tall and skinny and don't like to eat, so even better. If he didn't want to finish his food and Dad was going to make him finish it, then he'd pass it under the table to me. I got you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, you're up here. You're in the midst of this competition, the World Series. At what point does it start to get hard for you?
It didn't.
It didn't.
It didn't. I just ran out of time. I
Wow.
felt like I could have ate more, but that's because I pushed myself so hard in training. The more sweat in training, the less blood in battle. So I knew that if I walked in, I was confident. That's something my dad always told me is it's okay to be nervous. It's good to be nervous, as long as you're prepared. And I knew that I was prepared, and I did everything that I could to be my very best. So we just had to put it into action, per se, But I never, there's a few times in the contest where I had to tell myself, hey, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Swallow bigger chunks. Come on, get it down faster. But I never struggled. I had room for 10 or 15 more after I was done, but just ran out of time. And that's what's crazy about it is I've got a couple buddies that are ranked ahead of me in the world, and I'm like, I don't see how you do it, man, because I'm taking big bites and big swallows every time I do it, and you're still beating me by 10. How's that happen? That just shows there's different levels, and that's the people that do it all year.
Yeah.
Where
yeah.
I'm half and half,
Yeah.
But, it was pretty refreshing to know that I didn't have to give up bodybuilding like they said I would. They said I couldn't train heavy. I still trained heavy. Trained heavier than I ever have. I mean, I actually did 42 in my backyard a week before Nathan's with my training partner because he, I support him all the way. He supports me all the way. So he's going for Mr. Olympia, and he's going viral on all these platforms. Mr. Olympia's eating hot dogs post-workout. What in the world's this? I mean, it was everywhere. It was on every website there was. Couldn't believe it. He would do this to his body and eat all these hot dogs. He's just supporting me.
Yeah, yeah. How many did he get down?
He got, I think he got 10 or 11.
In 10 minutes?
Yeah.
I commend you, sir. If
yeah.
you listen to this, I commend you because I only got 5.5.
Yeah.
Holy crap, man.
Yeah, and that was after a 2-hour leg day where I gave him my all just to keep pushing him, And so that was fasted, 2-hour leg workout. Go back in the backyard. It was set 117 on my building. Of course, you get a little heat from the building hitting that too. But, cooked 80 hot dogs on the grill in the sun. I'm smoked, just sweat through a whole nother shirt after training, But I knew if I trained in the hardest circumstances possible, then everything else would be easy. So I loved living in Florida for this last Nathan's training because you know what? After I chug my water, I can go walk, sweat it out. It takes around 4 hours to pee out a gallon. I figured out.
So you did 42 in training.
Yeah, I did 42 in training. Like, I'm not sure if you saw what happened last year at Nathan's, but there was a huge weather delay. Like, they were talking about canceling it. And we finally got together like 3 or 4 hours late, and we filmed it. We did everything. It was live, ESPN. They came back on, but they had already, like, canceled programming and everything. And you're talking about, man, I just trained 6 months for this. And I can't even do it, bro.
That'd be tough.
Yeah. Joey Chestnut went out there, and he's like, we're doing it. We got to do it. And I was, but at that time, 4 hours after, I chugged a gallon of water at 8 in the morning because I thought I was going to be eating at noon.
Yeah.
And it's 4 o'clock now, so my stomach is coming down, and I still ate 41. So I think I was good for 45 or 46 probably, and, a perfect start time, but everybody was hit with that. So it's one of those things that you can't control every variable. Control as many as you can, and then roll with it.
That's it. Man. I agree 100%. Do you feel like placing fifth there
Mm-hmm.
at the World Championships. You kind of alluded to earlier, you're not retired, but
Right.
you're kind of looking,
Right.
you know, do you feel like you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish with the professional eating?
Yeah, I think there might be some other venues open up for me. I've been given a couple opportunities, you know, that I might have to take up down the line. Still going to pray on it and see what happens there. But as far as me competing on stage, I gave it my all,
Yeah.
you know, and it was perfect time. You know, I was living alone, you know, so nobody to bother with my schedule. It was just me, and it was everything I could do to be better, you know. And but yeah, I'm still gonna eat. I still love to eat. You know, we got a lot of food coming up this week, and still working on a couple more places here in Georgia. But this is more fun to me, where I don't have to like train so hard.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I love training hard, you know, but come on now, let's be realistic. You know, I don't want to have to put myself through something that I don't have to,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like these food tour challenges. I can drink a gallon of water. I'm good. I'm going to be a freak show, you know, 'cause
Yeah.
that's 8 pounds. A gallon's 8 pounds. You know, I'm good for 10, 12 pounds any meal this trip, any day probably.
You're good enough to make the average person
Right.
who's
And
not a
that's-
pro eater
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
freak out like you did with
Yeah.
me today
Yeah.
from eating 10 hot dogs.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm like, how is that even humanly possible?
Well, see, that dips back into the service you were talking about. And they want to see the show. I got to bring the show,
Yeah.
you know, and not training any decent show. I want to be able to do something that you don't think a human can do.
Yep.
It's like when we did the donuts, the Krispy Kreme challenge, Monarch Roofing. You know, I think a guy that won the contest there, 8:17. Well, you know, I'm like, I at least got to double this, or I'm not impressive. You know, so I ate 44. You know, I could have done more. I was dapping up the kids and everything. I was having a good time. So that right there showed me. I was like, man, this is pretty awesome when you can interact, you know, with the community, and you can do something for a good cause. I think I should shift more towards that, you know, but we'll see down the line as far as competition goes. And hey, I'd love getting on the mic and getting people fired up, you know. That was a part of it that I'm kind of possibly coming into, you know.
Yeah, you're gonna.
It's just fun for me.
Yeah, you're gonna make a lot more impact.
I'm an adrenaline junkie too.
Yeah.
You know, you like to do stuff that's challenging and scares you a little bit.
Well,
I mean,
dude,
I guarantee you, every time you speak, you get a little.
Yeah, and getting up in
you know.
front of people and speaking, without a doubt, it is a challenging thing. There is adrenaline involved. It is actually, for me, it's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I go and speak, when I'm done, like I need 4 or 5 hours of just silence, like,
Yeah.
because I'm just mentally,
Right.
you're pouring yourself out.
Right.
That's what you're doing.
Right.
You're pouring yourself out into these people
Yeah.
who have expectations, you know,
Right.
and you want to meet their expectations as best as you possibly can, you
Right.
know. But it doesn't sound like you've accomplished what you want to accomplish with bodybuilding.
I want to do a open pro bodybuilding show before I retire, probably.
Yeah.
I think with a couple more years of training and eating like I do, that I'm probably going to acquire some more tissue. It's just I'm in a spot right now where I can't really make that weight anymore, or I'll be stripping off muscle. You know, so I'm more so just enjoying life, training with my bro, and you know, if I never competed again, I would be okay with it, because I never thought I'd turn pro. I'm a pro bodybuilder for life, IFBB pro. So, you know, that's enough for me, you know, to hang my hat on that.
Yeah.
But I think I could display a better physique than I ever have next time I compete. Just because I've been working on my craft for way too long.
I sense something still lingering in there for sure.
Well, this is what I've always said. Now this is out there, but if you don't put stuff out there like that, then you got nothing to push for. But I would like to do the Olympia one day. That way I could say I competed at the top level of both pro sports that I competed in. I've done Nathan's. I've already been to the Super Bowl in that. You know, the Super Bowl of bodybuilding is the Olympia. So I've gotten close by getting a point for the Olympia, but essentially, you know, I'm going to have to win a pro show, which I don't know if it's realistic, but I haven't really dieted down in a few years either.
Yeah.
Just to see where I'm at. So I think I'll probably give bodybuilding another few years. I always told myself, I told my fiance that, you know, around 38 to 40 in there somewhere, I'd like to start downsizing and do more of your stuff, do different stuff. Hey, people get on me all the time about roller skating. It's fun.
Oh, it's fun. No doubt about it.
It's challenging. It's hard.
Yeah.
Hey, you fall sometimes. Hey, get back up. You know, it's good cardio. It's like I just want to be active. And, you know, when you told me that story about the blood clot deal, man, it you know, I was just praying on it the other day is, Lord, just, you know, banged up with a couple injuries. Like, Lord, just, you know, just keep my health intact, please. You know, just because I want to be mobile. I want to be active.
Yeah.
You know, that's my favorite thing to do is to move.
Yeah.
And just to think that there's some people that are disabled or can't do that, man, it just makes me feel so bad for them just because I know how much it means to me and how much I get out of it. And, you know, whether I'm talking and getting work done, I'm multitasking, I'm improving my health, I'm praying while I'm walking sometimes, you know, connecting with friends or family. You know, it just means a lot to me to be able to move, you know.
I agree, man.
Hey, anybody out there that's not moving, hey, right now, put this podcast on, walk outside, get you a swole stroll in, do something, because something's going to be better than nothing.
Yeah, and there's going to be a day where you can't,
right,
you know,
right.
And there's a lot of people out there right now at this current moment that can't. And, you know, you said something earlier, and it resonated with me. You said, you know, the Lord gives his people, his sons and daughters, what they need when they need it.
Right.
And so what I've learned as I've kind of been maturing in Christ is that means good things and things that we perceive as bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like you. I asked the Lord also, like, you know, while I'm here, I keep my body healthy enough that I can move and do these things that I enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also learned just here recently that sometimes, occasionally, guys like me and you, we can also learn a lot from weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And from being from a season where, whoa, I can't do the things that I've always been able to do and that I love to do. And and hopefully when we have those periods of time, we're always working toward getting back to you know, being able to do what we love to do and want to do. But you know, I learned a lot in that season. I think that's how I started that speech out down in Monarch and talking about, hey, life's given me this gift, and it's this gift of weakness in this season of my life, and I've learned a lot from it. It's miserable.
Yeah. Right.
But you learn a lot from it, man.
There's a reason for the season.
Really there is, man. I mean, for God's people, that is the truth, right? And it's not that I believe that the Lord is ever going to make you sick. Like, I don't believe I in no way, shape, or form do I believe that the Lord has given me this illness that I'm dealing with because he wanted to teach me a lesson. Like, maybe the Lord can work in that way in some circumstances. I believe that the Lord, as our Father, does chastise his children out of love to get them back in alignment with his will and back in the path that he's chosen us to walk. But life is going to throw things at you. and then the Lord will take those things and work those things for the good
Right.
of those who serve Him.
Well, one thing my mentor said that's will stick with me forever: if it's not good, it's not over.
Yeah.
And no matter what you're going through a rough time. Is it good? No, it's not good right now. Well, that means it's not over, because He works all things together for our good.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I get that.
So if anybody's struggling with something, hey, the sooner you can surrender and give it to Him, the sooner you allow Him to work through you.
That's it, man. Why? Speaking of that, why do you love the Lord so much, man?
Man, I just know, I'm just grateful for what He's done, who He's made me, and what He's doing for me. And my faith has been strengthened over the years, and I know I can't do it alone. Every wild blessing that He's given me, yeah, I'm not worthy of it, but I think He's selected me because I've tried to give Him the glory every chance I get. I try to be obedient. I'm not always obedient. I think I'm getting more obedient, but the supernatural's on the other side of obedience. So, I just love what He's done for me. My mentor, it's another thing he says. If you want to give your testimony to somebody, tell 3 things about yourself before you were saved and before you had a relationship with Jesus. And what's 3 things after? Well, before I was selfish, I was egotistical, and I had some hate in my heart, But now I have love in my heart. What was the other 2 I said?
Egotistical,
Well,
selfish.
Yeah. So I'm less prideful now, and I'm not selfish. Sometimes I have selfish behaviors, but that doesn't mean I'm selfish.
It's not what you want.
I'm the righteousness of Christ Jesus. It's all about an identity and believing you are who He says you are. And if you dig deep into that, you can go many different ways in that, We might have to start a church podcast.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, just
But he's been good to me, man. He's been good to me, and no matter what battle I've had in life, He's got me out of it. He loves me so much. No matter what I do, I'm perfect in His eyes, because I've accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and, surrendered to Him and His will. I'm not living for me anymore. I'm living for Him, and that makes everything easier when you give up that.
well, yeah, it's the only thing for me that I can fathom that's sustainable.
Yeah. There's no other peace.
No, there really isn't. I mean, when the question is posed, like, why do you believe in God, and then why do you believe in the God of the Bible specifically? We all need to think about how we should answer that question. And if you was to ask the short answer, why do I believe in the God of the Bible and in His gospel? Because I have to. Like, what else?
Right.
Like, that's a very elementary, surface level answer. But for somebody that asked me that question just off the street,
Yeah.
that's going to be the elevator pitch answer.
Right.
Because I have to. What else am I going to believe in?
Yeah.
And you say, Chadd, what do you mean by that? Well, there are a lot of different religions, religious philosophies out there. Why the God of the Bible? Because when you really distill down everything, or the fundamental principles behind all the different religious philosophies in the world, there are really only 2 religions. There's all these religions in the world that tell you if you do this, if you pray this many times, if you don't do this and you do this, you're going to earn your way to heaven.
It's by works, not by faith.
That's every other religion out there. It's telling you, this is how you find favor in God's eyes. Do this, this, and this. Yeah. And then there's the gospel that says you can't. Like, you can't. Like, God is perfect. And he's perfect in his judgment, his justice. He's perfect in all his ways. And there's nothing that you can do to earn his favor. Well, then I look at myself and I say, you know what? Yeah, that's the reality. And so the gospel lines up with the truth about who I am. Yeah, I can't do it, man.
Yeah.
Like I deviated from that standard of perfection a long time ago. I mean, as a child, I deviated from that standard of perfection.
So when did you get saved on deployment?
In 2012.
So tell me a little bit about it. I'm curious.
Yeah. I was living, or we were temporarily staying in this building that the short is there was a freaking demon in this building.
Wow.
I didn't know what it was.
Right.
But it was freaky, dude.
Yeah.
Like bumps in the night, voices, things moving around.
Wow.
It was really freaky. This presence, you'd walk into this place and this heaviness, you just felt like something was staring you down, just bearing down on you. You couldn't sleep at night. Me and a couple guys were all in this place together.
Wow.
And I didn't know what it was. And I called my little brother. My little brother was a Christian, and he put me in touch with his pastor, and his pastor called me while I was, overseas, and his pastor was like, thought it was no big deal. I was like, dude, this is a big deal. Like, we can't sleep at night in here. Right. Whatever this thing is freaking us out, man. Yeah. And he said, ain't no big deal. He said, just put me on speakerphone. I'm going to walk around this place, and I'm going to pray over this place. And I was at my wit's end because I understood carnal warfare, but I didn't understand spiritual warfare, nor did I believe in it.
Right.
And so as I walk around this building and this man is praying in the name of Jesus, and then we get done and he tells me, take a little olive oil and anoint my door with oil. And he's praying in the name of Jesus. And I just said, well, this is the last-ditch effort. And after he did that, whatever was in there left. It was like total peace return to this place that we were in. And that's what led me to
it opened your eyes.
Saying, okay, there's some power here.
Right.
Like, this was something real to me, and I need to figure out more about Jesus. Because I obviously growing up in the South, I had been to church meetings. Right. I had heard about Jesus. I just thought it was a cultural. I always just treated it like a cultural thing. Like, of course, everybody follows this line of believing, but and so after a few weeks of just reading the gospel and talking to other believers and my little brother, and then I just accepted. Well, that's another hard conversation. Yeah. Do we accept the gift of salvation, or is that miracle of salvation, that work that's done in us, do we receive it? And the more I think about it, the more I believe it is a miracle. We receive the gift of salvation from Jesus Christ. Jesus calls us as his, and then we receive that, and a miracle is done in us, and the Holy Spirit comes in and removes our heart of stone, which is dead.
Right.
We're dead, man.
Right.
People don't understand. Man, you're going to get me on a rant here.
Hey, I love it.
People don't understand.
Hey, let the Spirit speak, baby.
If you are a preacher or an evangelist, or you want to share the gospel, you need to understand that you are sharing the gospel with dead people. And so if we had a man laying right here in this floor and he was dead, I'm talking about dead, And I yelled out to him, "Hey, hearken unto my voice. Not far from here is a hospital where we can take you and they can hook something up to your chest and it's going to shock you and bring you back to life. Now come on with me.
Yeah.
Let's go to the hospital."
Yeah.
What's he going to do? He ain't going to do nothing because he's dead.
Right.
He's dead as a freaking wedge. He can't hear me.
No.
Right? And so when we preach the gospel to people, we're preaching to dead men who can't respond to the gospel. They can't respond to God. And so a miracle has to happen where the Holy Spirit comes in by the grace of God and brings that person to life.
Yeah.
And then they can respond to the gospel.
Yeah.
So don't get frustrated when you're preaching the gospel to people who don't know Jesus and they hate you for it, because that's another thing. These dead men, they hate God.
Yeah.
We think, well, if we can just show this person the image of Christ, if we can just get them to picture who Christ is and what he did, if we can just be slick with our words or pull some kind of trick or explain it to them, that surely they'll come. No, man, they're just going to hate him more.
Yeah.
And so
He's pleased by faith.
exactly,
You know
man.
what I mean?
Yeah,
And you got to surrender and
so
give that up.
when he comes in and works that miracle that's the best way I can describe it. The Holy Spirit came and worked regenerated me, made me alive for the first time. And that was overnight for me. Yeah. I woke up the next day, dude, and I was a totally different person. And you can't explain that, man. The reason I call that a miracle is because that's what it is. Because I can't go to bed one night being somebody and then wake up the next morning and say, and change my mind about who I am and act that out. I can't do that. You are who you are.
Yeah, it's a miracle that you get saved on deployment and then come back and then, share the gospel with your wife, and same happens to her.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only God could do something like that. Think how crazy that is.
Yeah, man, it is.
Think of two totally different people.
I agree.
Yeah.
We don't talk about enough. I feel like in American Christianity, the message is, well, step out, make the decision now to step out of the line that's going to hell and step into the line that's going to heaven. And if you do that, you're good.
Right.
But this is so much more than the decision than a decision that some dead man makes.
Well, a lot of it, the Bible says, God says he'll spit you out of his mouth if you lukewarm.
Yeah.
He'd rather you be cold, where you don't even know him yet, and you have the chance to know him, versus, thank you, I'm good, I got a ticket, I'm going to heaven, and no relationship.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When the Lord comes in and does that miracle and changes your heart, you become responsive to him. You want to be like him. He changes your literal desires.
Right.
And that's what produces the change of action in your life. So you have so many people who in the church who think they're good, but there's no evidence of that in the way that they live. And I'm not right here. I'm not preaching
we're not
salvation by works.
Yeah.
Again, we started this conversation with establishing the fact that the Bible says you can't do it. You can't be completely righteous. I'm just telling you, when you have an experience with the living God, your desires change, and then therefore your actions change.
Yeah.
And it's not because of your will, it's because of the miracle that was worked in your heart.
Yeah. Well, in the Bible it says, I don't know where, I have to look it up, but God convicts of three things. He convicts a sinner, he convicts the righteous, and he convicts on the judgment. Okay, so if he convicts a sinner, once he convicts you of being a sinner, well, that's when you have the opportunity to receive salvation by dropping everything you have and believing the gospel and following him. Well, once you make that decision, he convicts you of righteousness. So, like, my mentor's big on saying, I'm not a sinner anymore. You become what you believe, what you think about.
Yeah, man, that's
you
deep.
think about sinning all the time, you're going to sin.
That's
Listen, I'm not perfect and I will sin, but I'm not a sinner. I'm the righteousness of Christ Jesus.
Yep.
So any time that I mess up, that's not who I am. Let me renew my mind. You know, it's in the Bible, renew your mind.
Yep.
You know, and any time that I'm hit with something, you know, somebody pulls out in front of me, traffic, flipping me off, I don't have to respond. It's not who I am.
That's it, man. That,
you know?
and that's deep, man. People say, you know, well, how many Christians you say, oh yeah, I'm just an old sinner, you know, I love sin, you know, and I just can't help it because of my flesh, you know, but you know what, I've been forgiven, you know, but I love to sin. Like,
well, put it this way, I don't want to be standing at the gates and filling in hot water for not really doing much other than, you know, saying I'm saved.
I hate it when I do something contrary to God's word and God's will.
You got that spirit in you, and that's something. When you said spiritual warfare earlier, I heard it not too long ago, and I kind of experienced some of that. Me and my fiance were about to get engaged, and she got hit with a mirror that flew off her wall and hit her, like trying to prevent this from happening. We had to postpone it. We had to postpone the engagement because it was crazy. And then, you know, it happened again a week later. The night before proposing, my mirror at the house flew off the wall and smashed. I mean, we're talking about an 8-foot mirror that was propped up and wasn't no wind blowing, wasn't nothing. It was just like demonic force. It can't do nothing to us. It can try, you know, but at the end of the day, God wins.
Yeah, man.
God wins, and this is just a distraction. And you know, but it brings me back to the point of talking about spiritual warfare. And people, like, I was like you until recently. You know, I thought it was all carnal too, but the Bible says it's not about humans and flesh versus flesh, but it's a spiritual warfare. So, you know, you think about all this crazy stuff that's going on in the world, and we got AI, we got all this crazy technology, and people believe in different dimensions and stuff. Can you not believe that this body, and I love the 3 of 7 project because you talk about body, soul, and spirit. Okay? Your body, yeah, that's right here, right now. Soul, yeah, that's what you feel when things happen. That's what you feel. Spirit is what's in you. What's in you? Is it a good spirit or is it bad spirit? You know, and that demonic spirit will lie to you. It'll creep in through you doing one thing that you're not surrendering to, and then it creeps in and it takes over, and then it's a down spiral into something else until you crash and burn, and then you got to realize, hey, listen, that's not who I am. And then you fill your temple with the Holy Spirit.
That's it,
and
man.
that guides you through everything that you do the rest of your life.
That's it, man.
And the more in tune you get, I haven't always been in tune with it. So people out there that's listening, don't get discouraged if you don't have this like Holy Spirit inside of you guiding you all the time. That's something that you build with faith.
I agree 100%.
You know?
You're talking about this for me has been now since 2012. So a 12-year journey.
Yeah.
Essentially. And I like I'm nowhere even.
No,
there is no end.
No.
There's no end in this life.
No.
To the growth that you're. But man, right now, all the stuff that's going on, it's like, man, I just want everybody to have it. I want everybody to have it so bad.
Well, maybe somebody hears us talk about it on this podcast. Reach out to us. We'd love to help you and push you in the right direction and encourage it and walk it out with you.
Yeah, man.
Because we're not made to live this world on our own. You know, we're meant to do things. You know, God uses relationships as his currency to do stuff on earth, you know, so that's why it's good to get yoked with some friends or with, you know, your partners that, you know, are fighting for the greater good, you know.
100%. Yeah, you got to have that, man.
Yeah.
You got to have that for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of messaging out there now that tries to convince or does convince people that they can just go it alone, you know?
Yeah.
Like I can just build this mindset and this level of strength to where I can just, you know, I can get through this life. I can grit it out. I'm tough enough to do it.
Well, I think that COVID definitely showed some people that, hey, we ain't supposed to do this alone.
Yeah.
We ain't supposed to be locked up all day,
man.
no human interaction.
Yeah, that's not how we were created, for sure.
You got that coffee finished off?
Well, just about, man. I'll tell you what, man. It's that's the most important conversation and things that we can talk about is that gift that we have and that faith that we have.
Well, I think that God gave us this platform to do so. You know,
100%.
I've always said, you know why I keep getting crazy opportunities? Well, I think He's just using my platform to grow His kingdom. You know, I try to pray before every meal that I eat. You know, a lot of people see my food challenge videos and think they're crazy, and you know, but hey, listen, if somebody sees that and it helps them, then look, I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I'm in complete agreement with that.
Yeah, I'm glad you started before we got smoked in the lake. I'm glad you hit us with a little prayer. It definitely boosted me up a little bit. That was good.
I love.
Hey, you don't see that much anymore, man.
I love prayer, man.
Hey, you know,
people,
it works.
People get, gosh, dude, I could talk to you for hours about faith, obviously, but I mean, people get so confused. Like you have your meetings in your backyard with your brothers, you know, in Christ, and a lot of times there are guys out there who would potentially want to start something up like that.
Yeah,
but they're like, you know, how am I going to formulate a message? And like, this is a heavy responsibility. And I don't know that much about the gospel or the Bible. Like, how am I going to lead this? It's like, dude, probably the best thing that you could possibly do when you and a bunch of men come together is pray.
Right.
That's now the gospel still needs to be preached, and we still need to have knowledge of God's word. I'm not saying that never needs to happen.
Yeah.
But people don't want to pray.
Oh, I know.
They don't want to pray, man.
Hey, I understand. I was discouraged. You know, maybe I don't say the right words or my prayer sounds dumb. It's not about that, man. It's about your heart, and it's about, you know, just giving Him glory and thanking Him. You know, you got to have the gratitude. Attitude of gratitude is always the best solution. You're not going to get anywhere from being pessimistic and complaining about anything. Hey, let's be grateful for what we have, and let's set it straight. You know, 2 years ago, I wasn't praying in front of groups of people, but I moved to Tampa. That was crazy. That was part of the spiritual growth for moving to Kentucky to Tampa is nobody knows me. Nobody knows me. I'm being built up in the Word, you know, my mentors encouraging me, pushing me, challenging me. Well, before you know it, I'm praying every time we go out to eat with buddies. They hey, Bartley, hit us with a prayer.
I love that, man.
And I never used to pray. I was just afraid to.
Yeah.
You know, but nobody knows me. Hey, let's give it a shot. Well, I nailed a couple key phrases in that prayer somewhere, I think, you know, but it, you know, and the Bible also says I need to get better. This is my next step, being able to quote verses when I bring up these little references. That way people can check it and know that, you know, that I'm speaking the truth. I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, it's all good, man.
You remember what it was?
Well, we were talking.
Read my mind?
We were talking about praying in front of people, and man, it's all good. It's a powerful thing for sure. Prayer is something that we underutilize.
I thought of it. I got it. Sometimes you got to let the little memory man. You got to try to forget it immediately and let the memory man take off, and he'll find it. It's like in file 13 somewhere.
Yeah,
he'll pull it and he'll run back.
You got to give him a minute.
Yeah. Just give him a minute. Don't stress him out.
Yeah,
you know, let him. He'll come back to you.
I love it, man.
But you know, if you don't know what to pray, ask the Lord to intercede for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, the Holy Spirit speaks through people, especially when you have faith that he can actually do that. So most times I don't know what I'm going to pray. Lord, just give me the right words to pray. Start with that.
I prayed last night. Every Sunday we do an online live message called Resurrected.
Oh, nice.
And we do it for our patrons.
Oh,
we have
sweet.
a Patreon page, and
I like it.
It's awesome. It's my favorite thing that I do online.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Blake just swap weeks. But last night I prayed for us on Resurrected, and like my prayer was literally, God, help us. That was it.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes exactly to what you're saying.
Yeah.
You don't have to have the words. It's just crying out to the Lord, help us.
When
man.
you was speaking earlier, I felt it was heartfelt, and I could feel it.
Yeah, praise the Lord,
feel
man.
Feel the Spirit. Yeah, hey, anywhere there's two or three gathered in His name, He's there. So I knew He was with us today. That's how He allowed me to not fall out on the SEAL test, I believe.
It was a good day, man. It was a good day.
It was a good day.
Well, man, I think we'll wrap it up on that. Is there anything else you want to put out there? I definitely want you to let the listeners know where they can find you, follow you, and check out what you're doing moving forward. But anything else that's on your heart that you wanted to share that we didn't cover, man?
I think we pretty much covered most of it. I'm just a wild, crazy hype guy now that's, been blessed with so many opportunities, so many different things. I think God just keeps on giving me crazy things to add to my business card. I got another one I'm working on. I'll talk to you once we get off the air here, but I got a TV show coming up towards the end of the year, which would probably be one of the biggest things I've done so far. So
that's awesome, man.
So grateful for all the opportunities and grateful for this experience. When you or your team hit me up, I knew that we had to get down here and do it because I've seen some of your stuff before. Want to connect with you, over fitness and faith. It's my two favorite things. Three favorite things: fitness, faith, and food.
Yep.
That might be a new podcast right there. Fitness, faith, and food.
No kidding, man.
I can talk about those all day.
Yeah.
But, grateful for the opportunity. Had an incredible day today. You're responsible for the Georgia food tour that we kind of put together. Since I'm going to be in the area, I want to check out a few places to eat. And I don't know, the Monarch Roofing event kind of set me into a different little trajectory. But like I said, I enjoy traveling. I enjoy eating. I enjoy working out. So we're going to keep rolling with it until God points me in a different direction.
Yeah.
Maybe multiple directions at once. That's how He usually does it.
Yeah.
But, grateful for the 3 of 7 project. Love what you're doing and grateful to be a part of it. You can check me out, Dreamweaver Fit on YouTube. I've got my own supplement company, tfuelsups.com, the best gut health product on the market. If you're having trouble digesting food, folks, make sure you check it out. Get in all your micronutrients. 7 supplements in one: fiber, greens, reds, probiotics, detox blend, digestive enzymes, and coconut water powder. So that's like my main product. I've got some pre-workout stuff. I'm with Bum Energy now, so I've got some canned energy drinks all day. So I'm thinking about shifting my supplement line more into a like a more of a health supplement side.
Mm-hmm.
Something I can definitely. I was big on making the gut health product, the fiber greens, because, to be my best at both pro bodybuilding and pro eating, you got to have your gut in line.
It's 100%. Yeah.
If your gut's bloated and distended, you can't pull it in on stage. If it's bloated and distended on the eating stage, you're not going to eat as much because you're not, functioning properly. So tfuelsups.com. I just decided as of right now, we're going to do 3 of 7. It's going to be a discount code for anybody out there that's wanting to try my supplements I created.
Awesome, man.
The number 3 of 7. Number
Thank
7.
You for that, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm all about helping people out. It's not about money. If it was about money, then I'd be selling a fat burner that I had 5 times the markup on it. You know what I mean? But you can check the reviews. A lot of people it's changed their life, whether it be different digestive issues, different diseases that people, it's not going to cure it. No claims to cure it, but give it a try. If you're having gut problems and you can't go to the bathroom, it'll definitely help you.
I love how you created that too for that specific.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a huge thing. Like you said, gut health is really, really foundational to your overall health.
Right.
No matter what you do.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's something that anybody can use. You know, I got a disabled nephew who's one of the reasons why I made it. I made it for me and the stuff that I do, but I've seen family members struggle with going to the bathroom correctly. You know,
I got some of those family members too.
And optimally. So, you know, I got a sister-in-law that had, you know, problems with her pregnancy earlier, you know, and now her last baby, she took the fiber greens the whole time and never had an issue, never missed a scoop all 9 months. You know what I mean? So I've seen it help others, and it's helped me. So if it can help me, then maybe it can help somebody else.
I can tell you believe in it for sure. Yeah.
And so I do online coaching as well, dreamweaverfit.com, general lifestyle coaching. Somebody's wanting to get in shape. You know, a lot of the people come to me that, you know, they see me eating good and they want to eat good too. You can eat good as long as you put in the work like I do too, you know. So customized diets, workout programs for people. Dreamweaver IV on Instagram. Dreamweaver IV is my handle on most social media accounts, TikTok, Snapchat, all the platforms. Bartley Weaver IV. Maybe you can find me. Drop me a line, and would love to talk and help anybody out about anything they're going through. So I think that's what we're here for.
Man, that's awesome, brother. That's huge, man. Yeah, and I'll make sure we attach all the links to that stuff in the description there so that you guys can have easy access to it, and you don't have to remember that if you're riding down the road. Just go back and check the description, and they'll be hyperlinked in there. Dude, I appreciate your time. It was really cool getting to know just more about who you are, where you came from, how you got into doing what you're doing. It's so unique, man, and I can't wait to see you progress and develop and what this kind of new, you know, mission that is just kind of getting uncovered, what that's going to look like.
Yeah, I don't have a clue, but I'm having fun.
I really hope we can do some more events together.
Yeah, for sure,
but,
man.
You know, back to back. Because I just think that was a great combination.
Yeah. Hey, I'd love to get the crowd fired up for you and eat, and then let you take over.
I really think that's a good idea, man. I really do. So,
for sure,
Lord willing, we'll talk about that in the future. So
sounds good, brother.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. The show wouldn't be possible without you guys that listen and support us on Patreon. And you guys are the reason we're able to do this. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I love you guys. Hope you have a good rest of the day, wherever you're at. Enough said.
Enough said, baby.